Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Hammer Away. This is Viking Stew. You know that. I know that. You know that. So, hey, let me just tell you real quick. I'm going to give you a little synopsis about my guest today, and we'll get into all the other cool stuff between he and I and this whole bass brother reunion thing in just a second. And he's going to tell you a little bit more about himself in a minute. But I found this on his website, and I wanted to read this. Dale Titus is a professional bassist with over 40 years of experience performing, recording, composing, and teaching. He has an extensive background in the music industry, having previously worked as a teacher and counselor at the Bass Institute of Technology. This guy knows what he's doing. A writer for Bass Player magazine. I've met some of those guys. Now I know that he was there as well. The editor of Bass Frontiers magazine and the author of the Ultimate Beginner Series for Bass Basics book, and a DVD by Alfred Publishing. I mean, come on. Come on.
Perfect insanity, man.
Don't do it. Hi everyone, my name's Dale Titus. I'm a musician, bass player, composer, and educator, and I spent most of my life studying creativity, how to increase it, how to become more expressive with it. You're watching Hammered Away with my bass brother Viking Stew, where it's all about music and the human experience. So I need you to muster all your creative visualization. Just feel and see you holding the mighty Mjolnir in your hand, raised above your head, and let's get hammered.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me, mate?
All right, here we are. Dale Titus right here with us today. I got my headphones on too. How about that? We were talking about microphones. He goes, I really like the headphone microphone. I'm like, well, okay. So it's not my usual though. It's just, it holds the hair in. And I really got to be careful when I take these freaking things off. They grab it. It's dangerous. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
Dale, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you, Viking Stew, for having me on. I love
Absolutely.
talking music, love watching your videos, so it's an honor to be here.
Thank you, man. It's an honor to have you here. I was reminiscing with Dale about when I first started playing bass. When I got my first bass, it came with a Fender VHS tape, and I was thinking for some reason in my head that that's the thing on which Dale appeared to me and was teaching me things about. No. When I was there at the store, they had this pack, and I bought it. They were together, and it's the book and the DVD. So these are Dale. So it flipped me out because I was going through this quite a bit when I first started, and I went to the NAMM show. My friend Guy wasn't going to go out there, and he goes, just have Stuart go. So I got to go out there, and Dino Monoxylus, a good buddy of yours and mine.
Yeah.
You guys did Warwick stuff a lot together at that time. Yeah. And he goes, man, I'm going to go over to the Warwick booth and talk to my buddy Dale Titus. I go, whoop. Wait a minute. Did you just say Dale Titus? He goes, yeah. I'm like, holy crap. He's the guy on my freaking instructional video. I go, can I go with you? He goes, yeah, come on. I was like, wow. And I love the basses, man.
Yeah. Well, Dino is truly one of the greatest people in this whole industry. And we met at Musicians Institute. We both were on staff there. We became so close, tighter than brothers, that we would actually drive each other to auditions that we were competing against each other for. And it blew people's minds that we would show up together. They're like, oh, you're not for 30 minutes. I'm like, yeah, I know, but we just rode together. So I'm not sure if we got any of those gigs, but but Dino's the best, man. I love him. I love him so much, man.
The main thing is you're playing fair, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Like that T-shirt on that dude in the Kiss comic book, right?
Yeah.
What was it? He's had that play fair and nobody gets hurt, or whatever the shirt was. Yeah, that big dude with the cutoff shirt.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was another thing we found out, that we both dig comic books.
Yeah.
So, but still, the wildest thing is, and I just had this on the show recently, where I was showing Shang-Chi, because I was trying to get to that moment where I realized I was trying to get to that moment and tell folks about, the thing that goes on with Marvel movies, Star Wars movies, same thing, Star Trek stuff, same thing. It's like, don't mess with this stuff.
Yeah.
Don't. And then everybody out there is like, well, it's just because you're a dork and you know about it.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah. So I was trying to get to that point of, why doesn't anybody ever look at me, or anybody who has this kind of situation, and just go, you know what? I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the movie, but I'm sorry that they did that to your character, that you didn't enjoy it. Nobody does that.
Yeah. It's hard. We grew up really like rereading comics, like reading them multiple times. So the story really gets in, the images get in. So when they deviate, it can really just mess with something that you hold dear.
Exactly.
I'm the youngest of 6 kids, but I spent a lot of my time alone. And comic books and music were really my companions. And so I became really, I just kind of felt myself like I was part of Friends when I read comics. So when you see things changing on the, and some of the changes I've grown to love, Nick Fury, big change there. But I think what a great casting and, killer. But and I really do feel, it's funny. I think it was Kevin Smith once said that he's more forgiving about comic book movies because we lived through early years, which they were also terrible. I mean, you and I remember the TV series Captain America.
Oh yeah.
Webb always had a motorcycle helmet, and and I just remember, that was so cringing, and we were wanting so much more out of it, and I'm man enough to tell you that when I watched the first Iron Man, and definitely when I watched Avengers, I almost teared up just because it's how I imagined it. It's how in my head, when I was reading the comic books, those characters were. And so after suffering so many really poor attempts at bringing Marvel and DC to either the small or the big screens, to see it there as like, that's how it was. That's how it was,
Yeah. How about Rex Smith's Daredevil?
Oh,
in the Trial of the Hulk.
I do remember that. Oh, you know what? Thanks, dude. I finally buried that.
I want you to know I just got out of therapy last week. And I was just over it. Thanks. Now I'm back.
So that's why I am forgiving about movies. I sometimes I walk out and like my wife's real patient because I'll share with her, oh, this is kind of not right and this isn't canon and stuff.
Yeah.
But hey, like Kevin Smith, even the bad ones aren't as terrible as they could have been.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it just depends on how you view it. I mean, if it's, some people are like, well, it wasn't, that bad or whatever. And I'm like, and I've got another friend that's about the Star Wars movies. It's like, how can you say you don't like it if you've never seen it? And I'm like, well, I know I'm not going to waste my time looking at it. I've watched enough of my favorite podcasters to know what's wrong with the movie. And I'm like, there's no freaking way. I mean, because I watched The Last Jedi, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm done. As soon as it opened and he took that and threw that lightsaber over his shoulder, I'm like, I'm done. I don't even know why I'm here anymore. Yeah. I mean, now he should have just taken a dookie right there. It would have been the same thing.
Now I'm going to ask your audience, no spoilers, because I haven't seen the new Spider-Man that's out. Yeah. However, I did see something online where they recreated the covers shot for shot of like a lot of the villains. And I'm like, you know what? I applaud that. Just like 300. Do you remember the movie 300? Mm-hmm. Some of those cinematic shots were exactly from the graphic novel. And that, for a nerd like me, that makes the hairs on my arm kind of go up.
I know
they cared about the canon so much.
Yeah, they did put enough of what what some of my favorite podcasters call member berries. In there, you know, and so that was one of them. And I thought, as soon as I saw a certain scene, I'm like, wow, that's that's
Yeah.
that's where I start looking at my wife, who doesn't really know all of those things, but she's cool with being there. She enjoys them, and I'm just going, that's okay. All right, I won't
You
say it
know,
because I don't want to bother you, but that's the thing. That's and then there's another one, and I'm like, oh my God, that's straight out. I had that book,
yeah.
you know.
You know,
So
and to kind of pull it maybe full circle in a way is so as you know, I really became passionate about understanding the creative mind back in the early 90s. We were making the transition from shred metal and like virtuosic playing to
right,
grunge and things, and there was a big shift in what even non-musicians valued, and one was passion and creativity, and I was from the shred. I was a technical player and stuff.
yeah,
So I realized right away I needed to change my expression. I couldn't write songs anymore based on a scale or on a technique. I had to like make songs that were from an emotional content, because that's where a lot of the bands were winning and getting. Someone once told me, like, I'll listen to a virtuoso player an album and go, my goodness, that's amazing. I can't believe how much skill this player has, but I'm not necessarily going to re-listen to it. And I think it's because they didn't connect emotionally. Whereas people listen to Led Zeppelin, for infinity, because it connected emotionally. So to bring it to comic books, I started doing this thing called spontaneous soundtracking, which I think you read about.
I
But it
did.
started in comic books. I would open a big double page spread, a big splash page, which had a lot of action. I'd pick up my bass and I would try to play something that would fit that action. That was the beginning of it. And then it later transitioned where I'd turn on the TV, turn the volume down, and I would try to interpret what I was seeing, which paid huge dividends when I did a lot of session work, where I was asked to play on anything from TV commercials to like developmental deals for small beginning artists.
Yeah,
And
sure.
that kind of experience was invaluable, because a lot of times people would tell you in non-musical terms what they wanted. They'd say, hey, I wrote this on the beach. The sun was setting in Manila. True story. This actually happened. And so instead of telling me play like this, play like this, he was like, imagine yourself on this beach in Manila, sun is setting, everything's golden, and you're the most relaxed you've ever been. And I had to come up with a bass line based on that.
Yes,
and I was recording simultaneously with the keyboard player, an amazing keyboard player named David Groh. And David would hit me to what he was thinking, because we improvised the session. And he would go, I'm going to kind of do this. I'm like, great, let's go. So the experience of spontaneous soundtracking, taking still images on a comic book and writing what I thought the music would have been if I scored it, continues to pay off. And I still do it. It's almost meditative. It's like where you can like forget about money woes and anything going on out in the nasty world, and you can like solely focus on this one thing and improvise something. So for any of your viewers that are musicians, do it. Turn the volume off on your TV, open up a comic book, and just spontaneously create a soundtrack for what you're experiencing. It might seem weird at first. Don't judge yourself. Don't hold yourself to a standard. Just put output. When you feel like you got a vibe, I would record it, pull out your cell phone, just record a video of it, because you might later go back and grab elements for those for an actual song you're writing. But yeah, I do love that. And so, yeah, comic books, man, formative. It totally started me on a path where I'm straight edge. I've told you that before. I've never had alcohol in my life, never taken drunk in my life, never smoked cigarettes. Heck, I don't even drink coffee. And a lot of that came from my formative years of comic books. And just really, Stan Lee, man. Stan Lee set me on a good path. You really knew his moral code right away, by how he highlighted struggles. I also like the infallibility of his heroes, because they had problems, and I had problems. I have anxiety issues, and there were heroes that had anxiety issues. So I really appreciate that beginning that Stan Lee gave me. So
that's cool. You just made me think of something that I thought was strange, and I was just talking to somebody about it not long ago. I used to go to my friend's house, and this is something that at the time I didn't understand it. However, I was doing the same thing, similar to what you're talking about.
Okay.
Instead of me making the music for the book.
Yeah.
So I'd go over to his house, and he had a room in the basement, and across they had the family room, which had the
Right.
television in it. And so he would be sitting there with the TV on, with a cool movie on or something, and music blasting out of his bedroom.
Yeah.
So you couldn't hear, the TV was muted.
Sure.
But he's got the music blasting back here. I'm like, what the
Yeah.
hell are you doing? But there again, I would sit at home with my Shang-Chi comic books, especially.
Yeah.
And I remember two things. I remember Shang-Chi and Equinox by Styx. And I'd put it on my headphones.
Yes.
And I would just look through them. I wouldn't read them. I just look through them, and the music would go along with the pictures, and kind of giving it an emotion and a heartbeat. And I was like, so I would do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And somebody would look at me and go, "Aren't you reading it?" I'm like, "No, I'm just letting the pictures talk to me with the music."
That's
so it's
genius.
Exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
But I never saw it that way until now. I was just like, it wasn't so far off, right? And also, in Shang-Chi, they had Fleetwood Mac lyrics.
Yes. It's funny. I remember that exact. They would he'd be meditating, and there'd be thunder.
It was from Rumors, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
What is that song? I can't. We're gonna think of it.
We're
thunder only
happens
players.
When it's raining. Yeah. Players only love you when they're playing. Yeah.
What is that? We're right there. That's the chorus.
Yeah. Dude, we've experienced too much music. I can't remember the title.
They women, they will come and they will go. Okay, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Now, do you also remember a key scene? This is so funny that early comic books can imprint on you something. But do you remember when Shang-Chi was crossing the street and there was a cop there and it said, "Don't walk"? And the cop's like, "Hey, dude, can't you see the sign? It says don't walk." And Shang-Chi says, "But if the sign said to walk and there was a car barreling down the street that was going to hit me, do you want me to walk still?"
Right. Can we just? I go through that a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that where people try to go, hey, and you're like, okay, you realize. Well, that reminds me of a conversation I had with John Elefante about a gig I played with my friend Guy that I was telling you about, and I told him we played Dust in the Wind at a assisted living place, and he goes, "Is that the best choice for an assisted living place?" I said, "Dude, you know as well as I do, I could step out of here and get hit by a car and they'd all outlast me."
Yeah. Absolutely.
So it's relative. It's fine.
No, that's great.
It's good.
That's good.
But yeah, it was. It's always wild. But yeah, I loved how music came together. They used Blue Oyster Cult lyrics in a Deathlock comic.
Okay.
I loved Deathlock. That was some great comics.
I didn't collect Deathlock in my early years. I'd gone back and read some. For a while, I had the Marvel subscription where I could just go through and read some.
Yes.
Which is great. It's a neat ability to kind of catch up on the past. So
right. Yeah. I'm gonna pepper in some. Usually, I'll do like a lightning round thing in the beginning, but I was so working on other things for this that I didn't get to it. But here was one of the thoughts I had for peppering in lightning round questions. Real quick, favorite comic book artist?
John Byrne.
Oh yeah.
The Phoenix Saga, that whole era of X-Men, probably is my gold standard. Yeah. I just love that art style. And he was really good at the POV. Instead of being here, he was down here going up, or he was bird's eye down. John Byrne, yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah, I think probably mine would be Paul Galassi, who also did the same thing.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if you read Batman versus Predator 2,
Yeah.
they have a shot. His camera eye was all very much the same. Remember, I'll get back to Batman, but
Yeah.
that Shang-Chi, when that guard
Oh
is
yeah.
down and he's got his cigarette lighter and he
Yes.
sees a reflection of Shang-Chi coming down to kick his ass.
In that, yeah, he's holding it. Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. But he also in that Batman one had a camera mounted on the floor by his foot pedals in the Batmobile, looking up at him through the steering wheel. I'm like, that's bitch.
Yeah.
So he's one of my favorites. But yeah, John Byrne, holy crap.
Glaze is great. Absolutely great. I do like, I appreciate, because sometimes I didn't appreciate how cool Steve Ditko was.
Yes. I was the same with Jack Kirby.
Yeah, at first. And then you go back later and you're like, oh, I get it, and especially like looking through some of the way the artists with Shang-Chi, Masters of Kung Fu, the shading was different. Like he would be doing some kind of martial arts pose and you would see the shading on all the muscle structures.
Yep.
Because I started my post high school, I went to actually art college first. And that was what I really appreciate. And I tried to emulate was actually that artist or those artists, because many people kept that style going throughout the entire run. Very, very cool.
I think you and I need to do a comic book.
Oh, I'm in. Yeah, I'm in.
I have an idea for one. So
yeah, that would be great. I'd write the soundtrack for it.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. That's perfect. That's perfect. Then also for another lightning round real quick, since we're talking about art, who's your favorite album cover artist?
Oh, boy, that's a good one.
I mean, and some people may not be as well versed at who did art covers, but I would,
the artist's name is escaping me, but yeses are out. Early yeses.
Dean.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Thank you. Yeah, I could, like you were, what's funny is I'm going to sound like an old guy on the porch in the rocker telling the kids to get off my lawn, but I'm glad that some youth are embracing albums, because albums were more than the audio experience.
Totally. Thank you.
Because I would get a Yes album. I remember clearly getting close to the edge, and I'd put the actual LP on, put the record on, and you would just look at all the insight. Same with Rush albums, because you could read Neil's notes, his liner notes. Iron Maiden albums, I would be fascinated by the art, but a lot of them you would open up and there'd be like a collage of photos of the band recording. And that was that thing, like you're talking about, putting on music, looking at a comic book, not reading it, but absorbing the images. It's the same thing with album artwork. And I'm fascinated. Now, there are some super creative young musicians, younger than me at least, they might laugh if I call them young, who are doing the same thing. One of the artists, actually, I have this on my desk here, is All Made Up. I'm not sure if I can get with the glare, but All Made Up is this amazing. She is one of the most amazing producers out there. She's a bass player, but I mean, that's kind of reductive. She plays a bunch of instruments. She writes these great materials. She sings amazingly. She has an immediate style. She released her album on cassette.
Outstanding.
Isn't that amazing? So, and same thing, you could pull apart the J card, open it up, listen to the music.
Yep.
I think that, I mean, I'm going to sound old, but I think, for people putting out digital stuff, I understand that's the lay of the land.
Sure.
Put out your digital album, but on your website, include album artwork, include liner notes. People will be drawn to it. Just make sure they know that it's there with your social media. Right. Tell more of the story. And that's what I'm sure, Stu, I'm sure that's what has made you and I super fans of some earlier bands, is every scrap of text I was reading. I mean, Martin Birch, how do I know that that's the producer for Iron Maiden albums? Because I read, and they always gave him a cool nickname.
They always gave him a cool moniker on every one.
Martin, I think the Hammer Birch or Martin. It was so great.
And
so anyway,
I mean, Sheriff of Huddersfield. Well, the Sheriff of Huddersfield was actually their manager, right? Or was
yes, I think you're right. Yes,
that was Rod Smallwood was Sheriff of Huddersfield. But I would almost loved it. If I'd have only known, I'd have looked them all up. But
so young creators out there, or current creators out there.
Yeah. Midnight Devils, a used album out of Nebraska. They did cassettes on their latest album.
Oh, and it's phenomenal. So I'd say go if you're not experienced with like some of the LP cultures, go to like a used bookstore that sells used LPs. Look for anything by Iron Maiden. Yes, give them a couple. Really, what are some? Genesis had really great. I think
They
Rush.
did. They did. Also, some of my favorites are they're different artists,
Mhm.
but one of my all-time favorites, I did a show about him, is now I'm not going to say it. Peter. Why can't I say his last name? Come on, any other time. I talk about him all the time. Anyway, he did. I'll think of it
Yeah.
when I'm saying the albums. But he did Crossing, Atlantic Crossing
Mhm.
for Rod Stewart. He did Dragonfly for Jefferson Starship. He
Oh,
did
beautiful.
he did 2 albums for Ronnie Laws.
Yeah.
He did Ron Matlock's Love City cover. Peter, wow, that's disgusting. So
Yeah.
anyway, it'll come to me. But just amazing. Always had those little pin lights on every, those little
Yeah.
flash points on
Yeah.
all the stuff. And it was just amazing. And then I found out there were people, and I think he did the Billion Dollar Babies band
Oh, no
album.
kidding. Yeah, Alice.
With
Okay.
it had like after they left Alice and they had
Yeah.
that album Billion Dollar Babies,
Yeah.
and they had that big axe warrior on the front.
That's right.
And he did that. But there were other albums that I saw, and I'm like, oh, there's one, and I'm like, oh no, it's not.
Well,
It
Frank
just looks-
Frazetta also with Molly Hatchet
Oh.
albums and stuff. Yeah.
And Boris Vallejo, who did,
Oh.
speaking of Molly Hatchet, he did that custom cover
Yes.
for them for Take No
yeah.
Prisoners.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
So good. Yeah. And that's the thing is, we're not in, I always talk about your lane, stay in your lane. And I think
Right.
that's not the best in art, in
Right.
anything, music, sculpture, choreography. I work with a lot of choreographers. I'm fascinated by choreographers, filmmakers. Screw the lanes, do anything. And I think break new ground, because we're always, especially in this world now where there's a lot of, reboots, and, we're going to take this old IP and make something new of it. I think, man, just blaze your own trail.
Your own.
Yeah.
If you're that great and
Yeah.
you feel that good about yourself, make your own thing, or attach to something of the God knows how many.
Yeah.
Dale. I mean, you don't have to grab an IP that pisses you off.
Yeah.
Because you never could get into it. That's a you thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a you thing.
Yeah.
Now, go find something that does appeal to you and is a part of what is your makeup.
Yeah.
Mentally, physically, whatever it is. Find something that's out there that those people need help.
Yeah.
There's authors out there that are writing a bunch of stuff that that this person would like, and you're like, could you just grab that instead of wasting my time, because you won't get any more of my money. I'm done.
And I think too, another thing, as people are trying to make their own way, I was so encouraged early on. I met the man a couple times since, and we were together at MI, but Billy Sheehan said something in an early interview. I was barely playing bass at this point. But he said something that was so important to me. Yeah. He said, if a bunch of people are telling what you're doing is wrong, you're probably on the right path.
That's it.
And I love that, because I'm sure that when he was developing some of the tapping stuff he was doing and using distortion and splitting the signal and creating all these crazy things, which I adored, I'm sure there are people saying, oh, no, that's the wrong way. Yeah. Thank goodness he didn't listen. And thank goodness people like Victor Wooten didn't listen, and all these great players, because, that's how you're remembered. I think you're remembered. You become immortal in pop culture by having the courage to blaze your own trail, to go out and actually risk it for the biscuit, as they say. And and I love it, man. I will forever doff my cap to Billy Sheehan, because I got those things. Why don't you, people would say, why don't you just play guitar, or, hey, just play the roots for now. And I learned early on that there's a time and place. There's a time when I'm hired to not be an artist, but to actually bring someone else's vision to the forefront. And that's cool. I learned to do that right away. But when I was doing my own stuff, I didn't let those little voices come in my head. It's like, oh, people might not like this. It's like, hey, if I
Right.
like it, if I'm sold on it, then great. And there are a lot of bands that did that, and I appreciate them for that. They stuck to their guns even when it wasn't popular to
Yeah.
put out music like they were. They stick to their guns, and people caught up, and some people maybe didn't. But
Right.
at least they went to bed knowing, hey, I did it my way.
Right. Right. And I guess I kind of look at some of those things and go, yeah, you did what you wanted to.
Yeah.
It didn't really work out for you, but you're still here.
And honestly, some of the artists that I really adored did stuff that it didn't resonate with me, but I don't hold it against them,
Nope.
evolve and try new things. I think that's great. I might not be an album I listen to over and over again, but I appreciate the courage for sure.
Right.
that it took.
Well, you mentioned a little bit ago how you got emotional about something.
Mhm.
And when you were saying that, it reminded me of Iron Maiden, because I wasn't going to lose it like, oh my God,
Yeah.
not like that, but I did get emotional. And my eyes were getting a little watery. And I was like, when I'm watching Iron Maiden live on a video, I think it was Rock in Rio. Is that what it was? And they were playing one of those songs off of one of the Blaze Bayley records.
Yeah.
Which, So anyway, but I was watching that, and Bruce is singing it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's how it was meant to sound.
Yeah. It's funny. There's 2 times live that I became misty-eyed, and one is Iron Maiden, because I went and saw Iron Maiden on the Live After Death tour in San Francisco, went to the Cow Palace.
Sweet.
And so excited to see them. But you're always real worried because, we would listen to the album so much. We knew every part. And then sometimes you go to see a live band and it wasn't as good. And you'd be like, oh, man, it wasn't as good. And I remember they opened up. I'm not going to remember what. It's been like 50 years. But
probably Aces High, I think they were opening up.
Did they open on that tour with it? Okay.
Yeah.
And I remember,
more than likely. I mean, that's what they were opening with.
Yeah.
But I mean,
it was the same. I have the album.
Not.
Yeah, I have the
Probably
album
not.
Live After Death, which was recorded like 3 shows before my show. So I think
Is
you're
that
right. And I remember as they came on stage and the sound came and all the band came, like Steve Harris, guy runs like a marathon every show.
Yeah.
He comes running out, and I just remember tearing up because they sounded like the album.
Yep.
It was like, no way. I mean, and just the entire night. The other was Queensryche. I saw Queensryche. Queensryche opened up for Kiss.
Oh wow.
And, yeah, I know it was, and I think it was the I'm guessing it was the Analyze tour. I'm sure someone will fact check me in the comments.
Yeah, so it was probably
1984, 1983, maybe
84. So was that the Warning?
Yes, it was the Warning. Yeah, because they did
Wow.
Take Hold of Flame live, which is the point. And they sounded like, first of all, can we give some props to Kiss for not screwing up the sound of the warm-up band? Because for a long time, the headliner would not want to be outshined by a warm-up band. So they would not, like, they give them bad mixes and stuff like that. Kiss had enough confidence in what they brought to the table that Queensryche sounded just perfect. And Jeff saying Take Hold of the Flame hit every note. And so I'm sitting there just like, I'm not crying, you're crying, because it was like seeing, just seeing this album live. And I know there's an argument of like bands that only play exactly like the album don't like improvise. I get that. But sometimes, especially on iconic songs,
right,
I love when the band kind of plays it and they play their parts, because you're there. You've invested emotionally by listening for hours and hours on the song. You see them live and they do it, and there's that high five moment. You turn to you don't even know the people next to you and you're high fiving because you're like, that's amazing. Yeah, too good. Thanks for bringing those memories back. I'm getting that endorphin rush of like, wow, what a great shows.
I saw that was the first Queensryche album I ever bought. I knew about them before that, but really just minorly, because by the time I saw Queen of the Reich, and Lady Wore Black,
Lady Wore Black,
by the time I saw those from the EP, the Warning was probably just about to come out.
Okay.
And my wife and I were up visiting her family up in Michigan, and we went to the mall, and there was a record store. I had to go, and I'm flipping through the cheap seats in the front of the store, And for $5.99, here's The Warning.
Yes.
And the album covers kicks ass. And I'm
So,
like,
yep.
well, I'm buying that.
Yeah.
Well, do you like them? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've heard these other songs. I don't care right now.
Yeah.
This looks bitchin', and I'm taking it.
It's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
So it's great. And then Rage for Order. That's what I was almost wondering if it was Rage for Order, but I was fortunate enough to see them on the Operation Mindcrime tour opening for Metallica.
See, you're so lucky because Operation
Injustice for All.
Mindcrime won that album. What was beautiful about what I respect about the band so much is they didn't answer all the questions.
Yes.
So that you would go, who did kill Mary? And, you know, you're like, but talk about like I would listen to it over and over, and you would get it's like looking for Easter eggs in Marvel movies. You know, you would see a billboard in the back, go, oh, that's from that, or that's from that. You know, Only Feet. You know, it's like so. But yeah, if you guys watch and have not listened to Operation Mindcrime, that's one where you can't do anything else. You can't be on your phone. You can't, you can listen to it while you're driving, of course, but if you really want to put on headphones, if you're lucky enough to have any of the artwork or whatnot, look at it and listen. And it tells this story, and they don't answer all the questions. They're really making you as an audience member part of the process.
Right.
And it's so smart. It's so smart.
It's the lady or the tiger, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Anyway, man, there's just been so many iconic albums.
It's just too bad that the follow-ups did not. I tried listening to the Jeff Tate thing, this new one, the third one.
Yeah.
I'm like, it didn't grab me. It doesn't sound as good. It's just, I'm like,
I can understand why they want to do it, but it's a huge risk. It's a huge risk making, it'd been, I don't know. They're on their path. Part of me would say, hey, you guys did it once. Tell a new story. Maybe tell a new story that no one will compare the two. And, it's funny. I'm huge on, I'm not a chef or baker myself, but I love the Food Network and I love chefs. I mean, I hope someday to interview these star chefs because they're so creative. But there's something they always talk about in these competition shows. If you're asked to make one dish, don't make two. Because some people think, oh, I'm going to give them more. They're going to love it. Right. But then they go, what do? We compare them. And one's always going to fall short, or one usually will fall short. There's been times when both have been amazing. And I think about sometimes when people want to follow up a movie with a sequel, and I'm like, ooh, it's risky because you had lightning in a bottle. It was great. I mean, Aliens is an exception because Alien 1 was great. Aliens 2 did improve on it. They did improve on it. Yeah. But yeah, so I always want artists to feel like they can do whatever their heart's telling them to do.
Sure.
I wouldn't have done Mindcrime 2 and 3. I would have started with something new because I think these guys are all, and again, they are fragmented. The band's not necessarily the same band for Mindcrime.
What I mean, are you
amazing.
Are you how do I say this? Because I don't really want there's a part of me that's like, don't say that. But there's a part of me that's like, no, just ask him. Yeah. So are you in touch with a lot of people that we, I'm in touch with a lot of people, but not in a tight musician way all the time. There are certain bands and people that I know by now, even through this, even more, that I talk to, and I can talk to them about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But then there's like, maybe you just know of anything. I'm always like, whenever the subject of Queensryche comes up, I'm always like, what in the hell did happen to Chris DeGarmo?
Yeah.
Because once Chris left, it just...
Yeah, I don't know that the members of that band, I've never met... Have I met anyone? I think I might have met Scott Rockenfield once, but not enough to call friend.
I met Wilton at NAMM.
Yeah.
He was there for a pedal. I think he was endorsing a pedal or something.
I am real fortunate, primarily in the bass community, that so early on when I started teaching at Musicians Institute, Musicians Institute had an amazing thing where they brought every week there was like 3 or 4 really high profile players coming through. Yeah. A lot of them we would hire to teach classes, so I'd be able to hang with them in a very casual setting.
Right.
Then, as you mentioned in my intro, I wrote for Bass Player Magazine, and I later became an editor for Bass Frontiers, which got me exposure to bass players where I could interview them And I loved that. I absolutely adored that. I've, some of my best memories are interviewing like Les Claypool, had an amazing interview, Verdine White with Larry Graham. I interviewed them together. But then now in the last, I don't know, 30 years or so, I've been working artist relations where I work for, currently I'm working for Spectre, Dark Glass, and Aguilar bass companies. And I handle their artist relations. I get connected with the artists and stuff. And honestly, I have the greatest job, man. I'm on a gravy train with biscuit wheels because I get these people I consider my friends. They're so like, I was a long time ago, a pastor at a church said, always surround yourself with battery chargers, not battery drainers. Battery chargers are those people that just, when you leave, you're ready to tackle something. You're ready to go. Every day I'm around battery chargers. Today I had a quick email exchange with James Lomenzo, and I've known him for almost 30 years now, and he never hesitates to encourage me. He encourages me.
Seems like a really cool dude.
Dude, one of the best. His talent is unmatched. His talent is unparalleled, but he gets lots of jobs because he's such a nice person. So you're going to get an amazing bass player. You're also going to get a person that's not going to create tension on the bus or challenge every concept. I mean, he always works. I haven't met anyone who ever said anything negative about James Lomenzo. So yeah, I would love to get connected with some of the Queensryche guys. So if you're watching,
Eddie.
I mean, it can be any of them. It can be
bass. Let's just start there. That seems pretty easy.
Yeah. And honestly, that bass tone, Jet City.
Oh, geez.
Jet bass
City
tone.
Woman. Oh my God.
We've all sat there. Like I have this Dark Glass Anagram platform, which is an amazing pedal, but I'll go through and try to emulate like tones of my icons, the people that just and man, Jet City Woman. That
and I Don't Believe in Love.
Great one.
He is driving that just do.
Eyes of a Stranger. There's another one where you guys, if you're watching, you haven't done the Queensryche dip dive. I would do. So you might not know, or you might know about this, Stu, but it's something that came up. And I'm so sorry. I'm going to forget who. It was a podcast.
Sure.
And someone mentioned about pick an artist. And it's Jack Black, I believe. He says he takes an artist, goes all the way back to the first album, and listens in order without going to any other band. And like Liz, and I forget what, a binge. He would do a binge on an artist and hear their evolution, as they go through. And I started doing that. And so I encourage your listeners, if you're like, oh, I don't know Queensryche, don't jump in now. Go back and they had an EP, which I did buy. I was so young and I was gigging so much. I think I was 18 when that album came out. And I had more money than common sense, but since I didn't have any really bad vices, I would buy albums based on how cool the artwork looked.
Yes.
Like you mentioned. Yeah.
Yep.
And mine was, I saw this stack of just Queensryche, black lettering, this cool gothic. And I remember turning over, seeing the band going, oh, these guys look badass. And I'm like, it's an EP, but back then I think the EP was like $7.99 or something like that.
That's about right.
Yeah. So I bought it and took it home and blew my socks off. So start there. Go back, listen. It opens with Queen of the Reich, which will, everyone says, Take Hold of the Flame, what a great vocal performance. Queen of the Reich also has these notes that will shatter glass.
That's no doubt. That is no doubt. Yeah.
But then Rage for Order. Listen to that one with headphones. Because there's so much creative panning going, like that shotgun. You hear the shotgun get chambered around, and you hear it go off in this ear. Oh my gosh! People say, "Why don't you do drugs?" I say, "I don't need to. I listen to albums with headphones on."
That's it. People used to get pissed off at me because they're just like, "What? I hate being around you when I get stoned."
Yeah,
because you like blow me away because I'm like because
it's a great spectator sport to be sober, and plus you make sure all your friends get home safe. So
exactly. That first one just it just blew me away. And like I say, Rage for Order was a little different.
Yeah.
It had a little more tech to it.
Yeah.
And things like that, but it was still just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
That had did that have I Want to Get Close to You?
Yes, because
Yeah.
the video was really interesting where there was a twist at the end.
Yes.
Because it was all about following her.
Yeah.
And yet at the end you realized she's the vampire and he's.
And they played with reverb. I apologize to your fans that are not musicians because I'm going to nerd out super hardcore.
No, that's cool.
They reduce the reverb as he's saying, "I want to get close to you," because when you reduce reverb in mixes, the vocal gets closer to you in your ear. So anyway, that's a very big nerd thing there, but it's awesome. So
because it was, because I mean, to you, I've never really gotten down to brass tacks with that album because it was what am I trying to say? There was a storyline throughout.
Yeah. It wasn't as conceptual as Mindcrime, but it had
concept album. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah. I'd be terrible on a game show. People are like, you know everything about music. You'd be great on a game show. I'm like, no. You got to understand. When I get into that position, I flake out.
I have a hard time with names sometimes. Just like right. I can't recall.
Like Peter Lloyd.
Yeah.
That's his name, Peter Lloyd.
There you go.
The artist that did those album covers. I told you it would show up. It just comes to me now and again. Yeah. So now let's get to the book that I read.
Yeah.
And however much you want to talk about that and where it stands today, what you're doing with that.
I'd love to talk about it. And I'd love any questions or any conversations about creativity. As I kind of mentioned earlier, I was seeing the shortcomings in my, there's a couple things. So when I first started playing music, I played guitar. I didn't play bass. And I could seemingly write a song on drop of the hat. I was in a band. Initially, we were called The Warriors. Then it later became Ninja. And now there's a billion bands called The Warriors and Ninja. But but anyway, I could write. I could just write. And I was, into my ear, uneducated. I didn't have any training. My ear, they all sounded different. They all had a personality. Okay. So then I switched to bass and I went to Musicians Institute and I studied there. And then I got hired on. And I went through a phase where I couldn't write. And so
did you read music at that time? Did you learn to read music, or did that
going into the school? I could read rudimentary. I was playing in churches a lot, and a lot of times they had us reading out of the hymnal, which is actually hard. Some of those 9/8 songs you're reading dotted half notes and dotted quarter notes in 9/8. But I wasn't great, but I did pick up that skill, and I really embraced. Even though I was going in there primarily as a hard rock, heavy metal bass player, I really got intrigued by jazz and improvisational music. Gotcha. So I was studying and I was learning. And this is where the concept for my book came from, because what happened is when I graduated, I couldn't write all of a sudden. But I was in all these bands, and writing was, getting a new idea was really like a chore. Wow. So I realized that's when I came up with the concept, which the whole book and then the column series by Bass Player, which followed the book, Bass Player Magazine, was that creativity is a muscle. The reason I couldn't create anymore is I went from a time in my life when I was using my creativity every day. I was reading comic books. I was watching movies. I was obviously writing songs and all these things. And I was an artist, so I was drawing every day and stuff. So my creativity was a muscle that was super strong. I spent a year at MI where I switched off creativity, I think by necessity, because that's a very intense school. I had 1 year and they just throw so much at you. Our binders were like this thick, and I had 3 of them at the end of the year. So, so my creative process atrophied, but my ability was through the roof. Now I wouldn't be like, if someone said, here's a bunch of chord changes, make a bass line, I could play stuff that would fit, but there was 2 things missing: being creative. My stuff I played would usually be reminiscent of other players. I wasn't my own. I didn't find my identity until I did this process. And then second, it didn't express anything. I was, when I did finally come up with a bass line, if I played the bass line for someone, I said, what does this make you think of? They go, I don't know. Because I wasn't putting any emotion. Remember Bruce Lee, emotional content? I wasn't putting any emotional content behind what I was doing. So I decided the book was not the first in the process, but I started seeking out. I lived in Los Angeles, which was great at the time because all these different artists were there, musicians, artists, sculptors. You could go to like art galleries and talk to the artists on a show. And I started picking their brains. How did they overcome like the blank page? You know, the blank page is a syndrome that hits everyone who's in the arts, or any creative. Like even if you work in the marketing department, you know, you can get the blank page, which is they ask you to come up with something and you have no ideas. So I would ask, like, how do you overcome that? You know?
Yeah, it's like the opposite of the black page.
Exactly. So I started interviewing casually, just asking people myself, and I started coming up with exercises, things that I was actively doing, and I could feel creativity come back. And I think you commented on the one where I talked about reading is fundamental on my recent social media post. But one thing I learned is I stopped reading casually. I wasn't reading comic books. I love horror books. I still read, horror and mystery novels and stuff like that. And I realized that the act of reading a book, your mind is painting the picture constantly. That's a creative process. You're taking external stimuli and you're making the painting in your brain. Right. So I self-published a book, which I tell you, if you don't mind, I'll tell you a quick story about the book. Sure. So back then, as I told you in text today, the original text file I did on a DOS computer because Windows wasn't out yet. Okay. And I did it with a program called WordPerfect for DOS. And I wrote it myself. I took it to a Kinko's and I printed it myself. And I did my own cover art thing. And I later did clip art because I hated what I did. And I would literally go to concerts that I played at and I would sell them. Afterwards, if people came up backstage, I say, oh, you know, here's a cool thing. It might help you. And then the word spread. The story I was going to tell you is at the time I was a clinician for Warwick. So Warwick bases would send me out to music stores and do clinics, which I loved.
Just like Jay Hayes.
Oh man, I really love clinics. It was like, I like performing obviously on stage, but when you're in a group of bass players or musicians like-minded and you can get that synergy of exchanges. I like to think that I learned as much from my audiences as I did as a teacher at these clinics. But a lot of them, I did a deal where I'd say, okay, if you give me this bass for free, I'll do X amount of clinics, but I would cover my own expenses for the clinics. And so I remember I drove myself to El Cerritos, California, and did a clinic there at Music Works. And it was great, very well attended. And I was talking about creativity. And I realized this is I'm really dating myself, but it was like no debit cards, like you had cash and you would go to the bank and I have to withdraw cash and things like that. And I had no cash and my bank account was like on zero. And I didn't know I had gas to get from El Cerritos back down to LA. And then my mom and dad at the time were living in Durham, California, which is also a couple hours. I'm like, I don't know if I can get to mom and dad. And so I'm sitting there and I had brought like 20 books. So afterwards I said, hey guys, I do have copies of the books. Everything we talked about is in these books, but if you want to have a hard copy. And I think I sold them for $10 each and I sold out and I had cash to get home. The book literally got me home. So that book, I did the Jim Roberts from Bass Player Magazine had heard about me writing this. And he was always looking for something on the last page of Bass Player Magazine that wasn't going to alienate people that don't understand music theory, don't sight read. He wanted something that all players could get something from. And I don't know if he got a copy of the book. I don't know how it came about. I did know a lot of the contributing authors because a lot of them taught at BIT. So I imagine maybe someone mentioned that I had this thing going on. So they took, and I think it was 10 issues a year at that time, and then a special issue, but I just did 10 columns for him. And that really launched and that really did really well for me. But then I just got into other things. And since I self-published the book, it just kind of went the way of the dodo and I focused on other things and I got busy and I had some health issues that got me. I stopped touring because I had 2 grand mal seizures that.
I gotta remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had to switch to education. And then later I actually started working this side, which is working on musical instrument manufacturing and stuff, which I absolutely love. But the book kind of went away. But there were a couple people that had the books or listened to or read the columns that, thanks to social media over the last couple of years, they like, you really need to update this. You should do this. So just recently, I decided I was going to do a series of short social networks like Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, where I talk about these exercises to help develop your creativity.
Yeah.
But even though I wasn't actively trying to publish material, I was still interviewing people, still like hanging out with super creative people. And so the new version, I'm hoping by the end of the year, and I'm going to seek, because I do have a deal with Alfred Publishing. I'm going to see if maybe Alfred wants to publish it. If not, I'll self-publish it on Amazon myself. But it's going to no longer be, I purposely wrote that book, which you've read, to be like a method book you bought in a guitar store, not to be this tome that's huge, to be something short and accessible. Because I knew that a lot of musicians want to get the information and get going.
Yes, right.
So I'm going to expand on some of the things. I also have tons of new exercises that I've been using that I've shared, because I did, for a time, I got asked to be a consultant for different artists that not necessarily in the music world, that were stuck on something and just wanted. So it was great. I'd get paid to just kind of sit and chat with people and get them kind of fired up to find new paths. Right. So those concepts will come in this new book. But I'm still going to basically offer the content for free on my social media. So you're always welcome to check out any of my TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. If you just want to catch up, go back, watch them, and they'll hopefully give you ideas no matter what your passion is. Maybe you're not a musician, but you want to be a comic book artist, which I understand. If you want to be a comic book artist, hang with Viking Stew. You will learn so much, especially if you're younger. He's going to fill in blanks, and he's also going to tell you what worked and what didn't work, because we all know some things didn't work in comics. Right. And so use Stu as an amazing resource for that. Yeah. And like I said, I'm hoping to grow the audience enough that I can I'll start, because I have a YouTube channel called Everything Based with Dale Titus, which is all instructional. It's meant to be like a free private lessons. Okay. Cool. But I think I would start a new one about creativity, and I would love to interview musicians, choreographers, chefs. There's some people doing creative things out there in the world of marketing, and they're as creative as people putting albums out. I mean, it's amazing. I'm lucky to work with some of those people right now that I think are Rembrandts and Van Goghs. I mean, they're just genius, Yeah.
Now you said that Everything Dale Titus, that's on, what is that?
That's a YouTube channel I started.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I started that. Oh, how's this for good luck, man? So my daughter, she's a successful choreographer, lives down in Southern California. She's actually on tour right now, dancing in Scotland at the Fringe Festival.
Oh, okay.
But
cool.
When she was going away to college, or actually prior to that, I was a little worried about paying for the college and paying for her dance classes. So I decided I would start Everything Base, and I launched it in January 2020. So you remember what happened in March of 2020. So I started in January. I had right away, tons of comments and stuff like that. And then when the pandemic hit, by necessity, and I don't fault them, it was just the situation, but a lot of bass players found themselves not on the road, not earning money from gigs, and it was a terrible time. And so a lot of them jumped on and started making YouTube channels. So where my channel was growing, you can see like January and February is growing. Once March hit, it kind of plateaued. And then after that, there's just so many really great, honestly, and I'm going to be honest, better channels than mine were out there. And so, so I realized, okay, so I did it for 2 years. I think there's 300 videos up there. Mm-hmm. But if you're looking at, you're a bass player and you want to fill in some of the blanks, my whole concept was the videos were short. I wanted to keep them around 5 minutes. I also wanted to focus on one thing, because early on, at my time at Musicians Institute as a student, there was an amazing person named John Fay who taught us classes on how to learn. And his thing was, when you have this buffet of information you're trying to absorb, you can get paralyzed because you got that analysis paralysis. Should I start here? Should I start here? His point was take one small thing and master it. So my video content was that way. It's like, here is the major scale. Don't put any, like, I need to know this by the end of the day. I need to know this by the end of the week. Just absorb that. When you have the major scale down and you're really comfortable, like you can play it all over the bass and you can improvise with it, check out the second video. I'm going to show you a Dorian mode, and so I would go through that. And so I would just take a little thing, because I think that you can take anything that's super challenging to you that maybe right now is kind of defeating you a little bit, break it down to small. I did that with classical music. I wasn't a great sight reader at MI, but we were given these incredible, like violin cello suites by Bach. And I would go to John Fay, and I'm like, I can't sight read this. He goes, don't sight read it, read it. And I go, what's the difference? He's like, you're trying to read it like with a metronome on and flow with it. Turn the metronome off, take the first 4 notes, master those. And so I would learn those 4 notes, and I would just play them and play them. And he goes, then when you have those 4 notes, because it was all 16 notes, he's like, go to the next 4 notes. And what he did is he gave me permission to slow down. Because there's a lot of competition in the arts, not just music. We always feel like we have to keep up. And I think that's the primary reason I see most people giving up, like they get passionate, they start, they're a beginner, and they give up, is they compare themselves to others. Yeah. And there was a great teacher at MI that says, how are you comparing one bass player to the other? By height? You know?
Right.
He's like, Geddy Lee is genius. Cliff from AC/DC, genius. Yeah. You know, great player. You can't compare. Carol Kay, phenomenal player. Stu Ham, phenomenal. You're not going to say one's better than the other. They're just different. And so I would say if you're tackling an art and you start to feel defeated, don't compare yourself with anyone but yourself. Break whatever the challenge is down. If you're a sketch artist, don't try to draw the whole person. Try to draw the shape of the face. And master that, and then, you know, then once you've got the eye placement and lips down, then do the neck. You know what I'm saying? Tackle a small thing. It's that whole constant, never-ending improvement. Don't get impatient with yourself, and you'll find. And there's another thing: if any of the viewers now are musicians, audio document where you're at all the time. Like if you're practicing, you have a good practice. Turn on your cell phone or whatever you have, record just a little bit of you playing. It could be a riff, it can be just scales, whatever. Log that. Don't listen to it for a year. And the reason why I say that is when you have a new puppy, you have a puppy, you don't see that growth every day. And then someone who sees the puppy on one day comes back 2 months later, goes, oh my gosh, your puppy's huge. You're like, really? Because you were there every day. That happens with our art. We don't see our incremental improvement. So, and I came across this because to get into Musicians Institute, you had to send in an audition tape or audition in person. And I sent in a tape. And my tape had me playing 5 or 6 different things and then demonstrating some scales. But they let it open, like, show us your art. Who are you as a bass player? And I'd only been playing bass like 3 or 4 years. But I was off on a good start. That year before MI, I did 300 plus gigs in 1 year. Because I was living in Chico, California, you could gig as much as you wanted. So then I sent that cassette in, and I kept the master for myself on cassette. And I can't remember, it was years later, like 2 or 3 years later, I moved from apartment in Hollywood. I moved to North Hollywood in Burbank to get a little farther away from the noise. And I found it. And I plugged that cassette in. Because I'm like, oh, my audition cassette. And I plugged in and I was horrified because I was such a better bass player now at that point than I was when I was, auditioning. But in my mind, I remembered it being a great audition tape. And instead of being discouraged, I was like, well, I should be better. I went through a year at MI. I've been teaching a couple of years now at MI. I've gigged at higher stages in front of better people. I did sessions I could never do before. And so I realized I was encouraged. I was like, wow, that's 3 years of improvement or whatever it was, 3 or 4 years. So I encourage all your music fans there that are watching, record yourself and then don't listen to it right away. Tuck it away. But don't record like a song. Just record yourself playing. Be you. Who are you as a player? What are your favorite things to play? Put it away for a year. Maybe even go on your cell phone and put a calendar note to, like, in a year, go back and listen to this file. And one or two things are going to happen. One is you're going to listen and go, wow, I sucked back then. That's good. That is great. That is a great response because that means you've grown in that year. Yeah, the other response, and this is a little sad, but not a dead end. But if you listen and go, I'm pretty much the same. Use that to, like, seek out a new private instructor or, pay Scott's bass lessons and go through some of their courses. Be proactive. We can't not feed ourselves and expect to grow. So if we are in the cycle of where we're always just kind of replaying the same stuff over and over, hey, listen, before going to MI, my practice time was playing all my favorite licks. And I'd go, well, I practiced for an hour. I'm like, well, I got a little better at playing what I could do. I don't know. Don't think I got any better at doing new things. So consider that. So record yourself, let it stay. And this will be in the new version of the book. Let it sit for like stew for about a year minimum. Let's do it again. Judge your 2 responses. If you think you suck, I'm so happy for you because that means you're better. If you feel like you've stagnated and you're still the same, use that as that whack on the butt to find new content. And this is a beautiful time in any art because of the internet. You can seek out, like my channel is free, but there's also, like I said, I think Scott's bass lessons are doing more for the bass community than any one entity in the world right now. Scott's bass lessons, I think, is very affordably priced for really great instruction, really great inspiration. Their interviews are second to none. But there's more. There's more places like that. There is that thing of getting over the fear, and I had that. I had the fear of going to MI because I was pretty successful playing in Chico. I'd kind of built a name for myself, and I was feeling like pretty much okay, I'm good. And I thought, man, what if I go down to LA and I'm the worst bass player in the room? Spoiler alert, I was. So, so
it's true.
Yeah. And I tell you, I was lucky enough because being the youngest of 6 kids, by the time it was me to go to college, I went to Butte College for art, but dropped out because I had too many gigs and I was just living that life. My oldest brother, who's amazing, he retired as a colonel in the Army, but he is just a very successful person. It's got an amazing giving heart. He came and saw me play when I was just playing in Chico. And he said, if you could go to school, where would you go to? And it's funny because I don't know why I said this. I believe in God. So I believe God kind of nudged me this way because I said, oh, probably MI. I didn't know anything about MI. I was scared to death of MI, but I didn't know. Well, unbeknownst to me, he paid my tuition.
Wow.
He went and I got a letter from MI. He didn't tell me, by the way. I got a letter from MI saying your tuition's paid, but you still have to audition. So I got on the phone, talked to him. He's like, yeah, I want you to do this. I think you have some talent. I need you to go do this. Be better than you are now. And he didn't say that, but that was just like, go be better. Just learn. Learn. Right. So I went and I was horrified. I was so scared. But if it wasn't for him taking money out of his own wallet to pay it, I might have dropped out at a couple points. Wow. But because I felt an obligation that my brother was taking food off of his own table, so I had this opportunity. I went for it, man. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm forever indebted to my oldest brother, Dave. You're great. And it was the catalyst. There was the catalyst moment for me having the career I have now and all these great artists I get to hang with and talking to you. Stu, it wouldn't have happened if I didn't go to that MI. If I didn't take that chance, face my fears, I would probably still be playing Chico. I'd probably be so happy. I mean, because Chico is a beautiful place, great music town. But all these wonderful things that happen is because I took a risk. What's that what they say? A step of faith. You take a step of faith and just go, you know what? And in my mind, I was always like, I guess I could always go home. But then I was afraid, like I didn't want to go home like with my tail behind my leg or between my legs. I wanted to go home victorious. And lucky enough, thank you, God, things worked out, and I've had a great life, man. Because I took a chance. So if you're watching out there and you're on that crossroads where you could stay and do the same thing, you could take a chance. It's scary. Always take the chance. Right. Always take the chance.
Yeah, I remember working at SLM and getting to know, having the good fortune to hang out with Victor Wooten, and of course he has the base camp. And I really wish I would have stayed on top of it, but we were raising the kids, and I'm like, do I have time to do that? Can I go and do that? Because he was like, you could just come out. I just put you in. You know, I'll just, you could just come for free and I'm like, wow, that would be really cool. And I don't know, part of it was probably fear that I'm like, I don't know, I'm not that great. And even though he's looking at you, telling you, look, it's for every skill level, from beginners to the, whoever's, however they're doing, it's not just, nobody's there to make fun of anybody. It's just,
no. In fact, Victor is one of those battery chargers. I've had the fortune to be able to meet him on many occasions and speak with him.
A big Spider-Man fan.
Yes. And you know what? It's funny. He wants everyone to succeed. And you can't say that about everyone who's reached the heights. Like he is going to go down in the history as one of the greatest bass players to ever walk this earth.
Yep.
It'd be easy for him to like be that dog at the pound that's protecting his food bowl. But no, he's like, here, food. Yeah. Also, Gerald Veasley's bass camp. Amazing. Gerald Veasley has an amazing bass camp, hires these great instructors, also does kind of a mini NAMM show thing where manufacturers bring gear and you can kind of play through it in between classes stuff. Wow. So and by the way, just Stu, there are a lot of people going to these camps and going to MI. MI offers these little short like summer courses that are retirees that are just retired. And because they understand, there's a lot of things. When my daughter was born, there's a lot of things I put on the back burner because you have a higher calling.
Yep.
I mean, one of the greatest things you can be is a dad.
Yep.
And you have to take it serious and you have to put other things in front. And I was glad I did. And by the way, if I can share this,
absolutely,
it was an investment because my daughter started dancing at age 3.5. She started ballet dancing.
Right.
She never stopped. She was single-minded. I'm going to be a dancer choreographer. And so, as I said, she went. I was able to help pay for. My wife and I got her into a great school, Chapman University. She got her degree, and she's going to go on and ultimately get her master's and doctorate in choreography. Wow. But like in her first year of college, we were on vacation together when she was on break, and she's like, "Hey, Dad, can you write me a song that I can do for this class project?" And I'm like, "Sure." And so we talked it, and I ended up. I'd never done that for her, so I wrote her the song, and she did a duet to it, and it was really successful. And then she just started going, "Hey, can you write this for me and write this?" And so I'm working on a new song for her right now. She owns her own dance company, which is down in SoCal, and I'm Socadaco. I want to pronounce it right. Southern California dance company, Socadaco, and it's based, I believe, in the Long Beach, Orange area. Okay. And anyway, so she has her own dance company and she teaches and stuff, but through that connection, through my daughter and just sharing music, other people her girlfriend said, "Hey, I do short films." She went to Dodge, which is a great film school, part of Chapman. She's like, "Can you write me some music for these short films?" So I just got into soundtracking. Always wanted to, never had a door. She opened that door for me. And I've even done a short anime horror film. I did real short. I did a soundtrack and some sound design really for that. So it's been really, really cool through my daughter's passion for dance. All these opportunities are coming to me, which has just really been fantastic to be able to use my creativity in that way has been great.
Wow. So. Do you have people that you also work with to do some of that stuff, or do you have everything there at a studio that you can do everything? Yeah, it's right here. Right now, I'll collaborate with the director for the film projects. Always the director and the screenwriter I'll collaborate with, but musically I've been doing it all solo. Not to say I'm not, because I'm really big on collaboration. Right now, I've been collaborating mostly just with the whoever's the driver. Like my daughter on her choreography, she's amazing because one thing great about Chapman dance program is they actually have the dancers study music, so that they not to be players but to communicate. Like, hey, this needs to be in a major key. This needs to be 6/8. Right. And by the way, she taught me. So we did this. She did this dance choreography about the feminine and the masculine, and she taught me something. And I went to MI, but then I collect music books. I love being a student of music. I'm going to die being a student of music. I'd never heard this before. And so she's like, "Dad, I want to do the song in 6/8, but when we're doing the female aspect, I need to be the feminine 6/8. And when it's the male aspect, I need the masculine 6/8. And I'm like, I surrender. I don't know what that means. And she explained to me, and it's really evident in dance that masculine 6/8 is based on twos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. Very military. Very militant. Yeah, right. The female 6/8 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. More graceful, more fluid. Right. We played with that. Where ultimately, at one point, there'd be one bar of masculine, one bar 6/8, and I had to create a melody that tied those together. Wow. Yeah. She honestly, my daughter Ashton has taught me so much about music and expression. It's humbling how smart this young lady is.
Yeah. And similarly, I'm working on a new project for a filmmaker. I can't talk after it's out. I'll come back and talk to you about it.
Please. Yeah.
Because it is the craziest thing. It involved, here's my teaser. It involves a melody of bird songs, like bird sounds, doing a melody that transitions to human screams. So there you go.
Wow.
These young creators have made this old guy feel young again. And it's amazing. Collaborate.
That's great. That's great. Because you have we have, because we're about the same age. We have this thing from our childhood and all the things from our past. However, and I wonder too, Dale, if our appreciation or knowledge of something older goes deeper than somebody younger.
Yeah.
Because I don't know though. It's hard to say because we do enjoy the fact that we can work together with somebody younger who just all of a sudden you're like, wow, you're either an old soul or you just have an extreme understanding and appreciation like I do for these certain things. And it's great to see that stepping over into the next generation.
There's a challenge with consuming media right now. Talking to the audience right now, when Stu and I were in our high school years, there might be 2 or 3 albums released every weekend. And so you didn't have this flood. So it was very easy to like go into the record store and say, what's new? And they'd have a little thing. Oh, great. And you could see, but also that meant that you wouldn't get new music from your favorite bands for quite some time. So you would live with the album. I remember when I got Kiss, I was a huge Kiss fan, man. I was like Kiss Army all the way. And I remember when The Elder came out. I mean, I was so impressed with music from The Elder. I was like, oh, great. And I ran home and I hear orchestra. And at first I wanted to hear more of, Kiss Alive 2 and because I wanted that sound.
Which at that point, at least we'd heard Beth, which had nothing of the rest of the band in it.
Yeah.
It's just all orchestra and piano.
So here's what I try to tell young players is if your favorite band releases an album and it's disappointing, we had no other option. Like I wasn't going to go out and buy more because there wasn't other albums coming out that for like a couple of weeks. So I lived with that. And also it was hard. I mean, I literally mowed lawns to have money to buy albums. So I had
a paper route.
Yeah. So we invested money that was hard. So I gave that album a chance. I actually love that album now. I mean, there's a lot of gems on there. Mr. Blackwell is really cool. Escape from the Island is amazing. And by the way, when you're straight edge, sometimes it's straight edge going to high school is kind of tough because everyone's kind of experimenting with being adult and doing adult-like things. The song I on that album was my anthem. I don't need to get wasted. It only holds me down. I just need to believe in me. I mean, those guys I should buy they can buy their own food but I gotta tell you, man, that song got me through peer pressure because I believed in it. I believed that if I want to be truly different, it's not by getting tattoos. No shade against tattoos. I didn't want to be like everyone else, so I thought one of the best ways to be like me is to just be me, and I didn't want to party. I wanted to focus. I really wanted to be a successful musician. And so the whole point of it is now, there was a thing about Spotify said it's something like there's 1 million songs added like every month or something like that. Spotify is crazy. So there's so much that you might listen to a song and go, I don't like it, and go to the next song. Try to live with it, especially if it's an artist that in the past resonated with you. Like you're really into Noah Kahn. If Noah releases a new album next year, but it's got strings on it, or it's got he does a disco album or something like that. It meant a lot to him. You resonated with him. Give it a chance. Listen to it over and over again. Try to get to his points. That goes back to that binging through an entire catalog from a musician. Is try to get inside their head, and you might get a deeper appreciation for them as musicians because they took these chances and stuff. So anyway.
Well, and that's a reason why I think our guys our age, because it's a tough thing. Okay, because we we are still at our age, we are in that first wave of rock and roll still.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we were, neither of us were alive in the 50s.
Yeah.
But the 50s were still going, some of that stuff was still going strong by the time, we were born and moving up through
Yeah.
things. And so that was all still growing. So then by the time some of those guys, a few decades ago, were too old. Some of the guys from the 50s, they were done and dying and whatever. But now all of those people who were coming up and making California jams so big, or whatever huge stadium shows there were, and all of those bands, some of them are still going. Ted Nugent still plays out. Def Leppard still plays out. But some of these people, we just, hey, and let's pay tribute today. We just lost Frank Beard.
Yeah.
Just passed away. So so our condolences to the family and all of our fellow fans of ZZ Top, for crying out loud. I mean, so it's tough. It's hard, and it's something that I don't think a lot of people understand in newer generations. Is that, and stuff we don't understand. It's like, okay, you can get a little depressed about how maybe they sound or whatever it is. But it's tough. Yet that we're still among the first people. These bands are the first bands to do this.
Yeah.
So we don't quite know how to act. And people who don't search for music, you and I were just talking about that too, where you were saying, there was a time where I was going through on my show where you were talking about, you may not have ever heard of this.
Yeah.
And I've had some of those people on. Hybrid Ice out of Philadelphia. They had a song that they had written. I had the gentleman on the show. Wrote the song that Boston covered. Magdalene. And I think Hybrid Ices is better because Boston, when they did it, it's too much.
Yeah.
It doesn't flow like Hybrid Ices does. It's stop, start, going this way, going that way. I'm like, whoop, whoop, wow, slow down.
Yeah.
So there's bands and things like that people don't know about. But when these guys are dying off, or maybe should stop, or still going strong, or doing what they can do and still sounding good, Def Leppard, for instance.
Oh, absolutely.
Doesn't have the energy it used to when I saw them on the Pyromania tour. So it's my decision to either not see them or to see them. But it's strange when we think about how long ago all that was and growing up with that, and that some of these guys are still going. But it was the first group. So now it's tough for some people our age to try to find new bands.
Yeah.
And you're like, but they're out there, people. You got to check them out.
They are. It's funny. Are you hip to the Struts?
Yep.
One thing that blew my mind about the Struts, and also Dirty Honey, those two bands, they sound like you picked them out of the 70s. Like they are rock and roll. One of the greatest live shows I saw was Struts. I saw them in Reno play, and it just made me so happy because here these relatively young players, they'd laugh if I called them young probably, but to us, they're younger players. They are holding the rock and roll flag high. And Dirty Honey, Struts, both those guys, I put them I just admire them. Oh, and likewise, talking about, because so I used to do a social media series that I was telling Stu about that was called New to You. And there was another one called In Case You Missed It. New to You was basically an old album that was important to me that you might not know about because there's so many options out there. And you need, you might be helpful. You don't need, but you might be helpful for someone to go, hey, check this out. And I would give a reason. Check this out if you like, great dual guitar playing with harmony. Maybe. Yes, there you go. Right. And then the other was In Case You Missed It, because there is this flood of new albums being out. And luckily, since I work on Artist Relations, I'm hip to a lot of these new albums coming out. And sometimes the public doesn't know about them, specifically my community, the bass playing community doesn't know about them. And one I was going to share with you is Luke Spiller is the singer from the Struts. And he did an album, I want to say it was like a year and a half ago. And it's called Love Will Probably Kill Me Before Cigarettes and Wine. What is amazing about this is Luke's a great singer. To me, one of my favorite singers. He did bring an entire orchestra in, but it's still a rock album. And like when you like when you listen to the opening track, I mean, he goes from singing this one chorus line very sweetly right before the instrumental break. He sings it, and it's like Mephisto. I mean, it's just like,
wow.
and he brings his power to it. But people might not know because it's not in pop culture, and it's not the top of like the Spotify suggested, and it's a gem. There's a song on there that if they don't use it for the next James Bond movie, I don't even know what we're doing anymore.
Oh, dude, that's so weird that you say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because have you heard? I said to somebody recently, I think it was my family, it was my aunt and uncle and my brother and sister-in-law, and I said, you know, if there was only a James Bond book called The Eye of the Storm, which seems like there should be, right?
Yeah.
Sounds perfect. Eye of the Storm, James Bond, and they did the movie, they would have to put that orchestral version with the orchestra and the band of Scorpions' Rock You Like a Hurricane.
Oh, yeah.
That is perfect for James Bond.
Yeah.
It's got that with that, and I'm just like, wow, it's too bad there's not a book called Eye of the Storm.
That's right. That's right.
Let's make it up. Ian Fleming did it, you know, he did it. It's called Eye of the Storm, and Scorpions, Rock You Like a Hurricane with the orchestra. That's your theme song.
Yeah.
It's just so, I mean, it's like a machine you didn't know you could put together. And all of a sudden you find these 3 parts and you're like, oh, yeah. Oh, well, if I put that there, then there you go.
Yeah.
And you're like, it's just simple. It's right there.
But,
well, and that's one thing I didn't say earlier about Shang-Chi, and I've said it a million times. Everybody's going to get sick of hearing me say it. All Shang-Chi is your favorite Bruce Lee movie mixed with your favorite James Bond movie. That's it.
Oh yeah, that's the spy culture was great.
MI6 and Kung Fu, cool.
Yeah. A quick side note: were you as freaked out about how Razor Fist lived? Like how did he go to the bathroom? How did he?
Yeah, I know.
The guy had 2 huge swords in place of hands. They weren't attachments. He had no hands. I mean, I was reading the book. I remember the first time Razor Fist showed up, I was freaked out because you can't block him.
I'm sure
you block him.
I'm sure with that build and with those 2 arms, he had a handler.
I was thinking he has to have a Guy Friday or a Gal Friday.
I would assume he'd have a gal, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. He was kind of the pale dude.
Yeah.
And he wore the tight leather outfit with the hood thing.
You understand why he was pissed off.
Could have batted for the other team. And that's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying.
But yeah, I tell you, man, that made me always freaked out. They had great villains.
Freaking hilarious, dude.
In Master of Kung Fu, they had great villains, though.
Oh, dude. Pa Vane. I mean, that whole, and what's his name? Brynock?
Oh, yes.
Come on.
Now, do you remember? I mean, we're going to sorry, folks, we're going to nerd out on comic books again.
This is where my friend goes, push up your glasses.
Yes. Do you remember I think one of the scariest villains was Carrion. Do you remember the Carrion? Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You touched him, you died.
You
like,
died.
I mean, you could touch him for a second, and then you realize your hand's going numb and stuff. He was like death walking around.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember reading that. That was one of the few villains like I had a nightmare about after reading the book.
Wow.
Because I'm like, how do you fight that guy? I'm surprised they haven't used him. I mean, I'm not up to speed on current like comic books. I'm up to speed on the movies, but maybe in the comic books they did bring him back. But
I read something or saw something, and I think I saw it in some documentary I was watching, and or a podcast, I think it was, and somebody was talking about how there was a time in comics when they started making characters too powerful.
Stan Lee talked about it.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, nothing can kill them. So it's like that's what became part of the problem for me with terrific shows. Don't get me wrong, terrific shows like Justice League. Yeah, and I'm like, okay, they just fight this thing that they can't beat. Yeah, and you're like, okay, whatever. And so then I don't know. It just turns into a not so great episode of Next Generation Star Trek. It's like,
Yeah.
You got to find that one little thing that's going to change the whole aspect.
I remember Stanley spoke and he said the biggest challenge is you always needed the next big villain. And then they started getting too big. And then they got like the galactic power, Galactus should be the biggest. And then no, he's not. He gets,
Nope.
then
That's the Beyonder.
Yeah, Beyonder is exactly right.
Yep.
But I love what he said. He said, and this really, again, can inspire creatives. He was like, so we kept going bigger in galactic terms. So I created the Defenders, and they just fought gangs, and they fought street people, and they protected Hell's Kitchen. And I thought, that's really smart. It's like sometimes we got to look at the exact polar opposite. If you've got these big things, yeah, they can destroy the entire universe in a blink of an eye. But you also have these poor people that their gas station got robbed and they're not going to be able to pay rent, So I love that he had the awareness to really cover all threats at all levels, which kept it fresh for us. Because I knew if I read, which I love, Power Man and Iron Fist, Luke Cage.
Yes, I have a bunch of those. Yeah.
Oh, I love that series because same thing. I mean, they were, defending women that were being taken advantage of, and they were like these more accessible villains. And we might not ever see someone like the Beyonder. Hopefully we never do, but we are going to see people that are like beating up people and taking advantage of people that are less fortunate. And, and that's where every day, and there are people out there, man. I'm watching a lot of TikToks of people taking their own money they're raising, helping lift people up, giving people opportunities and chances. Those guys are Marvel superheroes. They just don't know it.
Right. Yeah. And I think, you mentioned that, and the one thing that I keep thinking about these days is how often, though, that word gets used, right? When people talk about heroes, I'm like, okay, slow down, just slow
it's
down.
Like genius, the word genius.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or what's the other word? Modest or humble.
Yeah,
I'm humble. And my drummer said to me one day, because we were joking about it, and I said, "Yeah, I'm pretty humble." He goes, "Are you humble if you say you're humble?"
Well, it's that old shirt. I'm the most humble person you'll ever meet.
So it's it's a relative thing, and so I think that's kind of what I just. There's so many ridiculous things happening these days, and people are like, "Well, they're a hero," and you're like, "Stop, stop, don't do that," because next week you're going to be talking about somebody else, and they'll be left behind, and they're going to go, "Well, remember when I was a hero?" So just don't. I think people lift people way too high, just because we're supposed to be equal, right?
Yeah,
we're all supposed to be equal, but when you go, "Oh, they're a hero," okay, well now we're falling beneath them.
Yeah, I do admire. I think what's so one thing we all can recognize. Sometimes social media can like be so dark, and there's a lot of people fighting, but you can train your algorithm to be the best thing in the world. And I kind of done that. So I did seek out people that like have dedicated their lives to saving animals. I'm real big on that. It makes my heart warm. People that are also big in their communities, going around doing stuff. You can train your algorithm to be good news. True. And of course, because of my job, which I'm glad for, I have a lot of music on my Instagram, my TikTok. So if you're someone who's like getting overwhelmed, by the way, it's okay to take a social media vacation. I do a lot. Usually when I take a vacation from my work, my day job, I'll also take a social media vacation and just kind of let things kind of go out. But I am inspired. We saw it in the pandemic a lot, which is take care of your corner. Take care of your corner of the world. There's a lot of things you can do, especially if you have a burning desire to like help people, but you don't have any money. We understand that, man. It's weird times out there. But if you have the capability to donating blood, I'm not going to be too big on this, but it's such a need. So one thing I do is I'm lucky. I have a very rare blood. I have the type O negative, but a kind called baby's blood, which is I never had a certain virus when I was young. So I don't have it in my blood system. So it's perfect for NICUs, for babies that are needed. So I just, every 16 weeks, I do what's called a power red blood donation. But all that time, I'm hearing that there's a need. So if you feel like I really want to give I want to give to the greater good. Right. I don't have any money. I don't have any certain skills that maybe you probably do. You just don't admit you have.
Right.
But you could donate blood. Now I understand that sometimes that's a huge fear. I'm not saying don't do it. If it creates anxiety, don't do it. But
Right,
also,
right.
if you maybe have a health issue, you just can't donate blood. I understand. But if you're someone's like, no, I could kind of do that.
Right.
And what's great about the new, I'm on a tangent here. You can definitely, but what's very cool is, and it always seems to happen, like if I'm having a depressed day, things just not working out my way, but I donated blood recently, I'll get a text from Vitalent. That's who I donate from. And the text will say, your blood was just sent to a NICU in Chico, California.
Wow.
And I can be like, okay, you know what? Get out of my pity party. Because
Right.
today might be a challenge. Maybe things aren't going my way, but I just helped someone I don't even know. And
Right.
so it really
Right.
makes me, pulls me out of like funks when I realize
Yeah.
I'm doing a little thing and it's helping a lot of people.
Yeah,
So
and it's that greater good to know that there's you're part of a collective, you're part of a
yeah,
community that's out there helping. So not only did you help somebody, but we helped somebody. You know what I'm
absolutely.
saying? It's like,
Absolutely.
we who are willing to help
Yeah.
people. That's what we do. I remember years ago I had a friend of mine. I was pretty new down here, and I had a friend of mine get a hold of me, and she was like, "Hey, I got to move, and all my friends have, you know, they backed out on helping, and
Yeah.
and I'm like, yeah, I'm there,
Yeah.
I'm there." And my wife's like, "Okay, why are you doing that? You haven't talked to them in years." And
Yeah.
I'm like, "So what's the point? I mean, I've known them for years."
Yeah.
So I told her, I said, that's what my family does.
Yeah.
That's what we do. We've moved a lot of people and we've helped a lot of people do that. That's just what we do. When somebody asks
Yeah.
and we know them, that's what we do.
It is a good not cure. It helps. I think everyone in the world, whether when I'm in or not, has depression at times.
Yeah,
I have battled
right.
depression in my life, and I know sometimes when I'm feeling that coming on, if I can do anything anonymously, so I'm not saying like, oh, look what I'm getting out of it, but if I can do something anonymously, it sometimes brings me out of it. And the other thing is, my wife and I, not now because it's hotter than the surface of the sun in Northern California, but when weather is good, every day at lunch we'll take a walk. So I just started grabbing a trash bag, and I got this little picker upper thing, and I'll just pick up my walk wherever I'm walking. I'll pick the trash up. I'm not looking for accolades, but I realize that, man, it makes my little corner of the neighborhood better. Maybe someone gets encouraged by seeing it. Maybe they'll pick up trash or not put it there in the first place.
Right.
So yeah, so our moods are to some degree, our moods can be in our control. I know that sometimes it's not, and you need help. And believe me, I love going to therapy. I love all those things. I use the tools that are there. And I know sometimes people might need chemical assistance to help just level out. I think that's amazing that you had the courage to seek that out. But we also can do things that can break us out of ruts. Look for changing patterns. I love patterns. And so I get like, I wake up and I always do the same certain things in the morning, and I do my job. And then afterwards I do certain things. And it's sure enough, I'll start going, why am I in a funky mood? I'm like, oh man, I've done the same daily routine for weeks now. So I'm going to do something radically different, and I'll just pick a random thing and do it and challenge myself. And that sometimes is enough to kind of break you out of that rut.
Do you know what's interesting though, too? And I'm so glad you mentioned that, because isn't it, we've already talked about this. This is great. I love that you just said this, because isn't it interesting how yes, I'm that way too. I'm even further that way. I
Yeah.
don't do the same thing all the time, but
Right.
I what's the word? I have an interest in doing that.
Yeah.
I need to be more organized. I need to get a schedule. That way I can do all the things that
Yeah.
I want to do with my life because of all of my interests. When my teachers, when I was in, I'll never forget, I was in fifth grade, not fourth grade, I was in fifth grade, and my teacher told me I had to write a list.
Mm.
And I'm like, why do I have to write a list? And they didn't understand what was my issue.
Yeah.
Back then they didn't know how.
Oh, I remember. Yeah. Yeah.
But I was like, what, am I stupid or something? Do I have to write? Why doesn't anybody else have to? And they're
Right.
like, well, it just helps you. And I'm like, okay, but it's just a me thing.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, you know what, it's a success activity or an exercise that you can do. There are lots of people that are very well known and very successful who've had to write lists because their mind works differently in a more creative way at
Absolutely.
the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you organize that, it helps you with your energy to get it down to. If they'd have been able to say something like that, I'd have been like, okay,
I'm on board. Yeah.
I'm on it. I got it. I will write a list because I got a million fucking things in my head and I gotta level it out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but they just didn't know to do that back then. And there wasn't an intelligence beyond what they were teaching with some teachers.
Yeah.
I'm not saying with all teachers, but with some teachers. And with this teacher that I had at that time, it wasn't going to happen.
There was definitely in the education system in the 70s, there was definitely a desire to keep everyone in the herd. And if you had to be like the herd, and now we are enlightened enough to understand that different challenges are there, and everyone's an individual. One of the greatest things I was able to go through to improve myself as a bass player was I taught, because every student, there was no two students alike. And I've counted all my private students and all my classes at MI, probably taught somewhere around 1,000 people. And I have to say there were 1,000 unique people. And so being able to see like challenges, and I actually had to adjust my curriculum for people missing fingers, people couldn't see and things like that.
Yeah.
Which really great. So yeah, we're in a good time right now. But you bring up a good point that I need to be reminded of. It's really balance. Meaning like you and I have different, like I am a pattern freak. I love patterns. I like it, but they can trap me and they can stunt my growth. You love to just explore and go and ride waves and stuff. Right. I think both of us would, together we make a pretty well-adjusted person because, because we need to balance. And I think that's the same. You and I might be similar in this aspect, is like when I get a new passion, like if I get a new bass, I'm all about that bass and I'm playing that bass and I'm playing it like crazy and like life is great and stuff. And I'll forsake my other passions. Like I love woodworking. I love gardening. I love hiking. Yeah. So about 2 years ago, I got, again, maybe divine intervention was the word balance, like just kept coming in my head. So now, like I could spend all day in the studio working on these projects. I have multiple projects going at the same time, but I realized that it's that old sharpening the axe thing, that I'll be better at this if I take a moment and go do some woodworking. And then I take the moment and I go work in the yard. So I'm actually need to borrow more of your character traits, which is being able to kind of shift gears and jump into different things. Right. Because it makes all of them better. Right. And whereas you might say, okay, maybe I do need a little more structure and do certain things with certain structure. Right. But the only thing I would say is don't let that, if you feel that is tamping down your creativity and your expression, reverse. Maybe you've overcorrected a little bit, because I've worked with lots of guitarist, songwriter stuff. They were like a cat on fire, man, trying to get them to focus on one thing. But what I really got to appreciate is by the end of like songwriting sessions where we didn't complete one song, we got 6 great songs started. Wow. Because they were going, oh, but I have this other idea. And so you're like, no, we're just about and like, no, but let me show you this. And then we get on that train. So yeah, I think anyone out there who's watching this, look at your life and see if you can balance it more. Because I really do think with balance, we get peace of mind.
And it is true that we need to be healthier.
Yeah.
I've got an ache that's been bugging me a little bit more recently. And I know that it's because I've had an uptick in some sugar.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, okay, we got to back it back down. There's some natural things you can do. And, diet is a huge thing. And here, I have 2 things. One thing is, let me finish this thought, but then I also wrote something down because I didn't finish my thought a little bit ago. But when it comes to that, okay, I got to remember what I was going to say, because anyway, let me go back to the other thing, because now I'm losing what I did. See what I'm talking about? That's where my head goes. So anyway, earlier when we were talking about structure and people doing the same things, and you got to watch out for that, there also are those people, though, like the Mail brothers. Do you know those guys from Sparks, right? Mm-hmm. It's my understanding now. I think it's true. I think they start the day the same. That's what they do. They go to the same place. They have the something to eat. They have
Yeah.
sometimes it's the same thing to eat, and they just start their vibe the same that way.
Mhm.
And they're a very creative and um, what's the word I'm looking for?
They're grounded for sure. They
They're
haven't.
grounded and they're so creative. They're eclectic. That's
Yeah.
when I first heard their album Indiscreet, and thank you, my buddy Bob, who's going to actually be visiting soon
Oh, nice.
in a couple of weeks. And he turned me on to so much music. And Indiscreet is such an eclectic record, but I fell in love with it, which also takes me back to those bands that we like. Kiss, The
Yeah.
Elder, right? In my world, I didn't get The Elder. I didn't get it. I was kind of done by then until
Sure.
Creatures of the Night.
Yeah.
Which I think that's probably my favorite album of theirs. But
Oh.
but then when it came to Sweet
Oh.
put out Level Headed. Love Is Like
Yeah.
Oxygen was a fantastic hit.
Yeah.
And at some certain time frame, you got to hear the whole song, right?
Yeah.
Before they really chopped it, and then you were just hearing the short version.
Yeah.
But right away, I loved that song, and I bought the record. And here's this big, long, kind of like the first time we ever heard "Taking Care of Business" on that record.
Yeah.
Wow, this is a lot longer.
Yeah.
You're like, wow. So when I heard that album, I'm like, it's hard to say that I fell in love with it.
Mhm.
I'm a romantic. So
Yeah.
even as a kid, I was that way.
Oh, yeah.
I had these, I'd see girls. I remember in first grade, I'm like, she's so gorgeous. I'm just like, man, just liked being around and just talking to girls, I
Yeah.
just dug them. And I'm like, man, that never has died. And so when this album came out, it really hit me, struck the whole room, even though it was so not
Yeah.
Desolation Boulevard or Give Us a Wink.
Yeah.
It wasn't any of that. It wasn't even Blockbuster.
Yeah.
It was, Wig Wham Bam. It wasn't any of that. It was so different, but it had enough of the elements that I loved, and it had so much romantic stuff on it. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to get that in there.
No, good.
But diet is an important thing. So I know what I was going to say, because everybody talks about going on a diet. There is no going on a diet. Your diet is what you eat.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no diet. It's just, what do you eat? I eat potato chips and drink soda pop, and I eat sugared cereals. Okay, well, that's a diet.
Yeah.
That's what you eat. You might have to change your diet, but you don't go on a diet. If you eat something, that's your diet.
Yeah, you go on a diet plan. You don't
just
go on a
change
diet.
your diet.
Yeah.
You don't go on one. If you don't eat anything, that's your diet.
Yeah.
If you eat rocks, that's your diet. I have a diet of rocks. I eat rocks. Nice. I eat salads. That's your diet.
Yeah.
But there is no diet. It's just...
It's good that you understood, like, you had so much sugar or too much sugar, so you're feeling the effects. Because I was having some negative effects, and I was even though I don't drink coffee, I was drinking sodas like crazy.
Yeah.
And for a very short amount of time, I drank like Monster drinks. And then I realized that, like, instead of being a stimulant, it was a depressant for me. It actually worked the opposite. And I also, no shade on the company, I just don't have my physiology doesn't allow me to have those caustic style drinks. So I learned I had this thing called erosive esophagitis. My esophagus was literally like raw hamburger. So a year ago, last month, it was the last time I had any caffeine. But what I realized right away is I stabilized, and like mood swings were much easier to deal with and things. So you being able to say, I can tell I had too much sugar, that's awareness. And that is so key, because you're talking about, you're really digging into the human experience, and one of the human experiences is self-awareness, being really mindful of, like, I did this, now I feel this way. Like, I know now that I can do a certain amount of physical labor before I'll wake up in the morning and my back will be seized up and I can't get out of bed,
Right.
But diet, boy, you nailed it. Creatives, no matter what your art is, truly our mind and our heart and our body is our instrument. And so when you abuse that, it's not going to be a surprise that your art is different. Now there's been famously players that in our past that from a lot of our genre or our decades that found creativity through experimental hallucinogenics and things like that.
Yeah.
But interviewing them now, they realized that it wasn't that necessarily the drug that created these thoughts. It was these other things.
Right.
So yeah, I would say take care of your instrument, take care of your body, your vessel, and your output is going to be much better. Especially, this is a little bit of a tangent, but if you're having a hard time getting inspired to create, which happens to all of us, you're not a freak. If you're like, I know I should go up and write a song, I can't, or I know I should paint or finish this painting, I can't. A lot of times it is not the art and it's not your state of the mind. It is like, I'm not getting enough sleep. And so now I'm just worn out. You know, or I've eaten poorly. Like, I ate really badly this weekend. I ate stuff I wouldn't normally eat. Had to really talk myself into doing some projects because I was just feeling like I wanted to sit on the couch with a remote because I just had no energy. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, being in tune with yourself and how you react to certain things. And, you know, a lot of insurance plans will cover talking to a nutritionist. And that's really great because the nutritionist doesn't just pontificate. They actually look at your blood tests. They look at like, oh, you're really weak in magnesium, or you need this. Right. And then like there was a time when I had such low iron that it was almost immeasurable because I wasn't eating anything leafy green or any dark green vegetables and things like that. Right. So it's a very astute of you to kind of talk about that, because I think that could be helpful for people who watch this, who are going through some challenges. Yeah. And it's easy for us to think, oh, I just need a new bass, or I need some effects pedal. I need this, you know. Instead, maybe I just need to cut out the candy. We're coming upon Halloween, the worst time of my life.
Same. Right. Yep.
I walk through Costco right now. Costco has the big Halloween candy bags. I'm like, there's zero chance if you bought that today, there'll be any left by Halloween.
Right. Well, and here's my thing too about that. It's like, so many people are, and I know that there are things that are going up in price. There are things though that aren't. Yeah. The eggs are still cheap, people, and there's certain things that are cheap. You can still get things cheap. There's no reason to run around and go, well, the inflation and the whatever. Okay, slow it down a little bit, because you know what's really going up? All the shit we don't need. Yeah. When I found out that a 12-pack of soda a couple of years ago, you know, but I'll just say it, prior to Trump taking over, that shit went up to $8 a 12-pack. Yeah. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. And we don't even need it. Yeah. I don't need it. I want it. Yeah. But I don't need it. Well, so to go, it's $8 a 12-pack is to go, okay, maybe you just don't buy it. Yeah. Because do you need it? Does it help you? Well, I just drink them every day. Okay, but do you need it? Yeah. A cool thing too about
and
candy is the same way. Candy is really expensive.
Candy is I am a sweets, like that's my weakness.
That's
mine too. My wife really around the pandemic just got passionate about gardening again, and she started a vegetable garden, a fruit and vegetable garden. And what's amazing is it's a great way to help stretch your dollar, because you can supplement your pantry with stuff you grow in the back. But when you have a strawberry that you just picked and you eat that compared to strawberry you buy at a store, they don't even compare. Yes. But the best part is the benefit of cultivating the land, planting the seeds, nurturing this thing. It's almost like, remember, like Survivor Man used to talk, if you're ever like lost in the wilderness, build a fire, because it's actually a companion. You need to feed it. You're actually interacting with something that helps you kind of stay focused.
Interesting.
And I think gardening is kind of the same way. I know my wife gets a lot of like a mental benefit and balancing by, you know, she like, hey, I'm going to go out and just see how the garden's doing. And she spends, and she has a pretty high stress job. She's out there and then she comes in, she's like, look, you know, and then we know we're going to eat really fresh vegetables, you know? Yeah. Yeah. So, but I do feel for people who live in the cities where, you know, you might be able to have a patio garden, but maybe sometimes you can't because the building doesn't allow it. So that's a bummer. There are even in New York, there's some really great, some chefs have put together community gardens where you can actually go work a little area of the garden. Plus you get to take some of the stuff out of the garden, which is really cool. So
Yeah. And I think those are things where, that's a lot of where I have issues too with some things. I'm like, do you really want to sit and argue
yeah,
all day? Or would you rather just go help your neighbor? And,
yeah,
and that goes down to even theological arguments from
yeah.
people who are, in a good place. And
Deeds,
they're
not
like,
words, dude. It's all
right,
about deeds, not words.
right,
And
right.
I think that's a great way to live. My dad, my dad was so great. Both my parents have passed, but they were really formative. My dad is a very quiet man, a master craftsman. He great, like his woodworking was phenomenal. But he once said something. He was like this poet that he just like a country poet. Like he would say things because he would say, even liars can say I love you.
Yep.
But he goes, but it takes someone to really do something to show love, because that's how he was. He didn't say I love you a lot to me. I felt love because he constantly was making me things, or he'd say, hey, let's go check this out, and then he would and he was doing things. So a lot of times the action can demonstrate love better than there are people that do respond to words of affirmation. I understand that,
Sure.
And who doesn't like to get a good attaboy? But I think sometimes sometimes when you can go out of the way and say, hey, I'm going to do something for this person, it really, it magnifies the expression of love by actually a deed, not just a word.
Right. And it's where you stand on it. My wife is always telling me my love language is food. I love, and it is. I bake for certain bands when they come into town.
Oh, nice.
I saw King's X a while back, took them some brownies. Matt Bissonette, I hung out with him when he was touring with Kevin.
Love Matt
Cronin. He is such a cool dude. And
cool dude, great musician, man.
Oh yeah, we saw him live, and that's what kind of, I don't know. When I looked back on it, I was like, far out, because I interviewed him after the fact. But when I was there, I didn't know that was him on stage playing for Elton John when I saw him live. And I was like,
crushed it. I saw that farewell Elton John show, and they mixed the bass so well, at least on our home stereo system.
Yeah.
I was like, because I've known Matt for years and years and years. I knew when because he and his brother used to have a band. I forget what the band name, but they were in LA and they rehearsed right next to us. We rehearsed in the same studio or building. Matt crushed the Elton John gig. His vocals on Darwin's a nutty band. I will listen. I can throw down Darwin at the gym is great. If I'm working out in the yard, Darwin is great. Mohini is obviously awesome, but I'm a Simon Phillips freak. Simon Phillips, going back to like Pete Townsend days, but also I think it's Sad Wings of Destiny, Judas Priest.
No, Sin After Sin.
Sin After Sin. You're right. I stand corrected.
Produced by,
what's that?
Produced by what bassist?
Oh, I don't know.
Roger Glover.
Roger did that album. Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, great album. Great album.
Fantastic record. Yes.
Yeah. And definitely people go back and check out Pete Townsend's solo stuff that, Give Blood. I think the album was it called
White City.
White City. And then there was The Best Cowboys Have Chinese Eyes.
All the Best Cowboys Have Chinese Eyes and Empty Glass. I just put a couple of copies of Empty Glass that I picked up at the used record store. I put those in the integration the other day.
Dude, I gotta tell you, man, Simon Phillips on Give Blood.
Yes.
That's an incredible drum track.
That album is so well produced. It's so I mean, I love that record.
But that also brings up a good point. Bass players, any bass players watching who watch Viking Stew, first of all, welcome family. But secondly, really explore drummers. Like I was lucky. I worked at a guitar shop right as I was starting to play bass. I worked at a guitar shop, and there'd be slow time. So I would read there was no Bass Player magazine. So I'd read Guitar Player magazine, but then I would read Modern Drummer. And Modern Drummer, it's amazing how many times they would literally talk about what they liked about bass players or what was the best thing about a bass player. So I felt like I had a cheat code. Like,
no doubt. That's great. Like, and so what women want, you're like, what drummers want.
And then the owner of the store, a great guy named Hal Race, I remember I bought my first drum machine while I was working there. And he goes, oh, that's a great drum machine. And he was a drummer. And he said, you know what you should do is you should go home and find your favorite albums and emulate the drum track. Like learn how to think like a drummer. He goes, I hate hearing guitar players program drums because they're not real drums. they're having things happen at the same time that couldn't happen on one drum kit. So I went home, and I believe it was like Living After Midnight. I did that drum track. Breaking the Law, I did that drum track. Because I knew I wasn't going to do like YYZ. That was like, come on, man. But it did change
that in the book, right?
Yeah. So it did change how I actually thought about drum tracks. And right now I love program. I don't use drum loops normally. I actually like to program my own drums because I love thinking like a drummer. But what it really did is it showed me where I can put bass parts, because I was so interested in how drummers were putting their downbeats and stuff that I started going, oh, you know what? In between here and here, I can put a little thing and it's not going to mess with what the drummers got going on. So I encourage all the bass brothers and sisters out there, really, there's a lot of free drum machines like on iPads and stuff. They're not great, but you at least experiment, like get in their heads for a second. And there's a lot of instructional drum videos. Don't listen to them to be a better drummer. Like just listen, or to become a drummer, just listen to what they're saying and like how, and then say, how does this apply to me as a bass player?
Right.
By the way, one of the best instructional videos was Neil Peart's. And because, man, it was 2 videos, and he was basically talking, and I had it on VHS and on DVD, and I keep giving away to people I admire, and then I have to buy it again. But he talks about, and this is inspirational, one of the greatest drummers ever, Neil Peart, one of the greatest drummers ever, hands down. He talked about how he was a match player. He played match grip. And he felt limitations. And one day he was doing that Burning for Buddy thing where he's producing it, and he saw Steve Smith use traditional. But he goes, Steve's playing was so organic, and there was something about Steve's playing that Neil says missing from my playing. So he went over and talked to him about it, and he describes all this on this video. He talks about and Steve Smith goes, oh, you need to take lessons from this drum guy. And so they hooked up. And the first thing the drum guy suggested was to go to traditional drum, not matched, where you have your drumstick in the hand differently. Yeah. How amazing. This drummer, Neil Peart, again, was in the Modern Drummers Hall of Fame so much they wouldn't let him in anymore. Right. And so they're like, he's like sitting there he could have rested on his laurels. Yeah. And he's like, no, I'm going to tear my technique. He went down where he had to literally start from day one with this traditional thing. But he realized he had an approach that was one way, but he yearned to add an element to his drumming that couldn't be done with that tool. So he goes through the process, and it's so you appreciate this because you edit video. He'd be like in the middle of a sentence on a canoe, or a rowboat in the middle of his lake in Canada. And as that sentence is still going on in the middle of the sentence, he's now walking outside his house. Like he took the audio track and then was able to so it kept your interest. For me, who sometimes has a little bit of squirrel, right? Yeah, he kept your interest. So anyway, that is really a work in progress. It's called a work in progress. And even if you don't enjoy Rush's playing, but you want to be better as a player and you don't even play drums, see if your local library, a lot of local libraries, people don't know this, rent it out. So you can go see, do you have Neil Peart's a work in progress? And or you might be able to see segments that people have put up online. I hate doing that because that's robbing money from the state. I know. Right. But anyway, but yeah, man, it's that thing. How brave. A guy who literally could have phoned it in and we'd all be buying the albums and we'd go see him live for that drum solo. And he's like, no, I'm going to take it down to 1. He had to start with the basic rudiments. And I know that's almost like me saying, I'm going to play left-handed now, Right. And I'd have to go back to basic technique. Yeah. Anyway, I miss him so much. He was one of those who passed. I cried. Duck Dunn, when Duck Dunn, we're at that point, you and I, where a lot of our heroes are passing away, and they were big parts of our lives. Neil Peart, huge part of my life, the whole band, really. Absolutely. But yeah, when Duck Dunn passed, man, I didn't know what to do with myself. I was like, because he was big part of my life and his playing. And I mean, I wore out so many VHS copies of the Blues Brothers just because I wanted to see him. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that is awesome. Yeah, it's tough when I'm trying to think of. I mean, Ozzy hit me pretty hard.
Yeah. Oh, Ozzy. Oh,
just but there's been some others that I'm just like, Eddie was tough. Obviously. That I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like on one of my shows recently, I was like, I don't know why is this. Finally, I got down to what bothers me about when somebody's like, well, that was 50 years ago. And you're like, God,
Yeah.
really? I mean, how is the Wii a retro or the GameCube a retro unit?
Right.
You're like, no, come on. It's
Don't
like,
don't get me started on classic rock radio because it kills me every time.
well, at least that's classic rock. They're calling it that. I mean, when they start calling my 80s oldies, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, stop it. Just stop. Oldies
Now-
will always be oldies.
Yeah.
The 50s, early 60s, that's
yeah.
oldies.
Now,
You know?
we can take a negative and create a positive with it. And I think knowing you as I believe I do, I think you're going to echo the sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
We can mourn the loss of the artists who have passed on, but we can celebrate the ones that are still here.
And that's yes.
You
right.
like if there's someone who's been important to you, no matter who it is, no matter if they're not popular anymore, and you know they're coming through your town, buy a ticket, go see them live. That has been because honestly, I got a little complacent prior to the pandemic. Then the pandemic shut down all live music, and I was starving. And now, luckily, it's part of my job. I get to go see so many people. I mean, Jason Mraz. If you can get a chance to go to a Jason Mraz concert, it is like getting sunshine fast lined into your veins. But he has a good point. He goes during his show. He says, "People ask me how I can stay so positive all the time. My job literally ends with people plotting." He goes, "Imagine if your job, you finish a report and everyone stands up and starts applauding and cheering for you. You're going to have a really great outlook on life."
That's it. And let's take a Michael Scott turn. What does applause sound like?
Yeah.
Cooking bacon. Who doesn't love bacon?
Yeah. So I got to tell you, by the way, The Office, I binge watched that. I probably 7 times now watched the entire thing first, and I go beyond him leaving. Like, because people bail when he leaves. But there's some, like Ed Helms gives a quote in that. I know it's really popular right now because he says, "I wish we would know that we're in the golden years while we're still in them." Right. And there's so many times, like I look back and go, "Oh, I wish I took advantage of that time because that was so great. I wish I really maximized that time." Now I'm sitting there thinking about it. Yeah, I'm in a golden time right now. I'm in this time right now is amazing. I mean, I'm getting to talk creativity with you guys. I'm surrounded by amazing bass players that I can call friends. I've got the best wife in the world. My daughter's crushing life. So I'm trying to appreciate it more instead of like, remember how when you and I first started, the whole thing was, I'm going to be happy when I'm signed. My band's going to be successful when I'm signed. Everything was based on this thing that most likely odds are it's never going to happen. I wish I would have gone back to those bands and enjoyed the show I played for just the bartender,
I know. We've all been there at some point, right? Where you're just like, I played a whole gig to an empty room. Yeah. I played to the crew the whole time. And I was like, okay. I mean, and I'm going to do the same freaking show. Yeah. That I do if there's a bunch of people there. Because you never know who's going to walk in.
I was lucky enough to talk not too long ago to someone who is in 4th stage cancer. And chances are, I mean, it's going to be a long shot. Yeah. And he told me through direct message, he was messaging me, how fortunate he was. And I'm like, what? He's like, oh my gosh, it's just, I'm really appreciating so much more now. And every day I appreciate, and like, I'll have a cup of coffee and just go, oh my gosh, that sounds so good. And I'm sitting there going, first of all, I felt horrible about myself. And I told him, I said, listen, dude, go to bed tonight knowing you made my life better. You absolutely made my life better. See? A little behind the curtain to everyone watching, but Stu and I were chatting last night around dinner time. My wife, who's an amazing chef, she's literally, it's not her vocation, but she's an amazing chef. She made me one of the greatest pulled pork sandwiches I've ever had. And I'm eating this going, I have an unhealthy relationship with food because I am so joyful now. But I was enjoying it. I just kept telling her, this thing is so good. This thing is so good, So, man, try to do that. If you're watching this, and I know things can seem bleak, and I've been in some really tough times. Like right after my grand mal seizures, I was in a dark place. I didn't know if I wanted to keep walking on the earth because one aspect of my life ended. I couldn't tour live anymore. And I saw that as a great loss. But then I look at it now, and that's when I shifted to focusing on education, on creativity. I got into this side of the industry where I could help other musicians with their instruments.
Right.
But best of all, I probably never would have settled down. I was such a busy player. I never would have settled down, which means I never would have met my wife. Never would have had my daughter Ashton brings joy deep inside me that I don't even, she can bring such with just a simple text. Hey dad, makes me so happy. So I'm thankful for my seizures, and I'm thankful that I'm not touring all the time. And I'm thankful I have this amazing house. So, even though you're going through a dark time right now, try to appreciate elements. And one thing I learned through therapy is every night trying to think of 5 things I'm grateful for that happened that day. And it changed, by the way, it changed my dreams, because I was having some pretty messed up dreams. But when you go to bed and you're like, man, I'm so grateful. Like today, I'm going to say, I'm so grateful I had this time to talk with Viking Stew. I'm so grateful he allowed me the honor to be on the show. Yeah, I'm so grateful that earlier today I was able to talk with James Lomenzo, a good friend of mine who plays with Megadeth. If you just take 3 to 5 things at night before you go to bed that you're really grateful, and sit with them and go, don't just say it, just sit there and go, man, Stu reminded me of so many things. Like, I'm going to go back and listen to the albums he talked about. And, he awoken some stuff in me that sometimes reality might have beaten down a little bit. Mm-hmm. That's a real tangible gift that you've given me, Stu. No, thanks. And everyone watching this, you have it. And also, here's another thing that I started doing. I came up with my own thing. But if you are someone who's feeling a little burdened by life, a little dark, a little sad, take your cell phone, if it has a camera on it, take a walk in your neighborhood and focus on taking pictures of beautiful things. And what happens is you start focusing on you're looking for beautiful things. As you're looking for beautiful things, you start taking a picture of like this beautiful flower. You see a puppy on the walk. Can I take a picture of your dog? Take a picture of the dog. I always come back looking at those photos happier. I come back feeling more at peace because I changed my focus from what's wrong with my life to how much beauty there is around me. Man, I really encourage you guys to do that. It's such a great tool to get yourself out of the doldrums.
Yeah, and I think it helps you focus on reality.
Yeah, that's true.
Rather than walking around with all these thoughts in your head, building mountains out of molehills that aren't even necessarily real, or things that don't affect your life, really. I mean,
tell you what, son of Odin, you are wise beyond your years, because it is true. A lot of things that we are like that are bringing us down are thoughts that aren't even possible. Mm-hmm. Because when you're a creative person, that means you also think creatively. So you can see that whole molehill and make it a mountain. You can see something go, oh, this is going to happen, and this is going to. Yeah. You actually don't know that. Now you can manifest it. Like I've manifested arguments because I got wrapped around the axle about things that chances are I created it. Yeah. So, man, that's very astute of you, dude. Yeah, that's right, Blake. Yeah.
Blake is a big fan of the channel. He and I worked together at the school where I worked. And so I remember his teacher asking me, he said, is it okay if he's calling you Thor? I said, abso-freaking-lutely.
Yeah,
he's Captain America, by the way.
Oh, Captain America. It's an honor to meet you, man. Thanks for that. That is so great.
So, it was awesome. And there's a lot of cool things out there. My friend doesn't always dig what I say when I say everything happens for a reason. But everything happens when it should. And I think as long as we start remembering and start putting into play that the most important person in the room right now, to me, is you.
Yes.
And a lot of people, I used to tell my students, I'm like, I get what you're saying when you think it's you, but it's got to be the other person, because I said, I understand that the concern is that the other person won't reciprocate.
Yeah.
And that's okay if they don't.
Yeah.
If you put them first and they don't put you first, that's okay.
Yeah.
The main thing is that you're doing the right thing and you're putting them first.
Yeah.
And if they if they don't reciprocate, if it's a situation where you can decide not to hang with that person, don't hang with that person. If they don't reciprocate that, you don't have to hang with them. Just love them where they are.
So Stu, I've been considering doing another different series, offshoot series on social media, because you be a musician. If you're dating a musician, it doesn't come with an owner's manual, and we should. And so I want to do a series called Owner's Manual for the Musician, How to Date a Musician, because there's some things you could do simply that means so much. Like, and the whole part of it, and this is where my wife stole my heart. But I'll start by telling you this: if anyone watching, you're in a relationship with a musician, dating, married, whatever, and they bring a song to you, they say, "Oh, I can't wait for you to listen to a song." That the best thing you can do is set the cell phone down, really give it your attention, listen to it. My wife was so great. We were just dating, and I'd go, "Oh, I think it was a Y&T song called Forever."
Oh,
that I
got it. Oh, I love that song.
Yeah. And so I'm like, Corey, you got to hear the song. And I loved it because she was super busy, and she put everything down, and she sat on the couch next to me and listened to it. And then she brought up about, like, I could tell she was listening. She goes, "Oh, I love that lyric." So if you're dating a musician and you want to just put some deposit in the love bank, anytime they say this song is important to me, or like, I heard the greatest song today, say, "Hey, play it for me." Make sure you set everything down, because the worst part is as they're playing it, you're on the phone and you're scrolling.
Right.
But I thought it'd be a funny series because there's a lot of things people who date musicians might not know actually are important.
Yeah.
Like, or the other thing that about a musician is we can have crazy moods for a reason, like our bass strings are dead.
Right.
And, yeah. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Dude.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've been talking a lot, but definitely.
Oh, that's all right.
I'm gonna get on the highest mountain and tell everyone to like and subscribe, because your content is so much fun to listen to. You talk about so many cool things that I'm passionate about. I think you're a very deep thinker, and I'm going to mention that when this is uploaded. Listen, you've got a great perspective. You look at the life really cool, Stu, and I really enjoy it.
I usually hope most people see it that way. Sometimes they're like, "Shut up," or whatever. But it's like, I just try to. It's like it's like I always say, I'm not an asshole, but I am a dick. But it's just one of those things. Blake says, "I'm about to take my shield to Thor's Facebook messaging system." he sent me a message recently. He says Loki did something. Because the other day I click on it to respond, because he's like, "I haven't heard back from you on this." So I go to do it, and for some reason Facebook's like, "You can't do it." And I'm like, "Okay, is it everything?"
Yeah.
So I click on my buddy Scott, and it's letting me do it. I'm like, "Okay, what is it? What is it?"
Oh, it's definitely Loki.
He and I we can't do that, because I've been talking to him here, and it's not like I've ever exchanged anything wrong or weird. It's like, what's going on? I'm like, this is silly. But yeah, Blake's a big Marvel fan too. He and I took him out shopping at a couple of cool shops here in town. To get all the DVDs, Blu-rays of all the Marvel stuff up to Captain Marvel. Yeah. I'm like, stop at Endgame. That's pretty much it.
Endgame had me in the feels too. There were so many times.
Yeah, I know. There is something else that I'll discuss with you elsewhere, but about some of these, and I'm eager to talk to you after you see Spider-Man. So
okay, definitely.
That'll be awesome. But yeah, let's keep in touch. If you can hang tight, I'll just throw our ender out there, and I'll talk to you backstage real quick and let you get to it.
I'll go sit in the green room.
Awesome. So remember, everybody, as always, I guess I'll chat here for now, even though I know, right? There you go. That's why I'm here. Yeah. But like I always say, when you step out your door every day, you're in everybody else's world. They're not in yours. Mm-hmm. So act accordingly, especially when you're driving or, whatever. Just do me a favor and don't listen to your phone in the store when they've already got music going.
Yeah.
God, just don't. Yeah. The headphones are so cheap. Anyway. So yeah, just keep that in mind. All right, folks. Dale, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so glad this worked out so quickly and easily. You know.
Yeah, I loved it. Thank you, Stu.
And man, thanks for being my first, instructor. And I was watching the video today. I'm going to get back into that. I need to get back to the basics, and I need to start ramping up from there. So
Awesome. Awesome.
So
enjoy the process.
We'll get it going. Yeah, you got it, brother. You got it. All right, folks, take it easy and have a great rest of the evening. And I will see you on the other side of the storm. So a rockin'. Bye-bye.
You're gone, man.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me, mate?